Good morning, everybody. It is time for week 15 NFL Live before lock here. So just a few weeks left in the regular season. No more bye weeks, which means some bigger main slates. 13 games. It's the biggest one that we've had in a little bit for main slate. So do me a favor as you're coming in here, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is the first snow day here in the Northeast. I don't know where you guys are at, but for me, pretty good amount of snow out there. There's 4 inches or so, or 6 inches, as I like to tell. What 6 inches? We round up 4 inches. It's always 6 inches. But yeah, it looks pretty nice outside right now. Some clean snow and yeah, some cold weather potentially impacting some football games as well. And here we're going to build out lineups with you guys for the next 45 minutes. If you have a super chat for me and you want me to check out your lineup, you could do that. Or if you're a stochastic sub and you want me to check out a lineup that you've already built and maybe tinker around with it a little bit, send that in the Discord channel. All stochastic subs do get access to Discord. I'll be on the lookout for any of those that come in. But where we always start here is by looking at the top projected owned and projected players at each position, beginning at the quarterback spots. That's what we're looking at here. And you'll see with all the games that we have on the slate, lots of quarterbacks that are projected pretty well for today. We've got Matt Stafford topping all the quarterback projections. We've got him at 23 fantasy points. Josh Allen just below 23. Lamar Jackson at 22. And then a handful of other QBs for at least 20 fantasy points. Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, Jackson Dart, and Joe Burrow. If we look at the ownership at the quarterback position, and also keep in mind with the slate being 13 games for the main slate, lots of options to go to. So the ownership a little more spread out as a consequence. We've got 4 QBs right around 10% owned. That's CJ Stroud, Lamar Jackson, Matt Stafford, Jackson Dart. Also, just because I know you guys are going to find it fun, here is the projection on Phil Rivers. 9.6 fantasy points and 0.03% ownership. For all the people who are wondering, Grandpa Rivers, what is he looking like in our data? Terrible, as should be expected on the road in Seattle, but kind of a fun thing to look at because it's such an odd situation with Phillip Rivers and the Colts. So I don't know if you guys are going to leave me super chats asking me to build out Colts lineups, but I'll tell you right now, they're not going to sim out well at all. It's not going to happen. I will not be playing Phillip Rivers today. Running back position, we've got 2 very highly projected running backs, Christian McCaffrey and Jahmyr Gibbs. We got Christian McCaffrey, who gave everybody a little bit of a scare yesterday because all of a sudden you get Christian McCaffrey, who somehow has been the only player on the 49ers who's been healthy. All of his health issues the last few years, the entire team has been banged up, but Christian McCaffrey's played the season reasonably healthy. And all of a sudden we get the report yesterday, back issue, he's going to be questionable to play. And at that point in time, panic sets in, fantasy playoff start, best ball playoff start. Is Christian McCaffrey not going to be available? But shortly afterwards, we got a follow-up report from Adam Schefter, and it was that Christian McCaffrey expected to be good to play today. So all expectations are that Christian McCaffrey should be good for today's game against the Titans. Him and Jahmyr Gibbs, your 2 top projected running backs. And then just behind them, you've got Saquon Barkley, who's only $7,100 against the Raiders. You got Derrick Henry, James Cook, Travis Etienne, Jonathan Taylor. Ownership at the running back position, Woody Marks, he's your chalk. Great matchup for him against the Arizona Cardinals, and also no Nick Chubb. As it's already been going, though, the backfield had kind of been leaning in favor of Woody Marks over Nick Chubb, and now that's going to be even more forced to be the case. So Woody Marks, he's a top overall value option on the slate at $5,600. Your other most popular running backs, Christian McCaffrey's 22% owned. Then you got Saquon Barkley, 19% owned. Jahmyr Gibbs, 17%. Ownership's pretty spread out at the running back position as well. Points per dollar options at running back, we've got Woody Marks, Barkley, Etienne, McCaffrey, pretty much all the same guys who are the highest owned. At wide receiver, we have the top 3 wideouts on the slate. Puka Nacua, 25 fantasy points. Jamar Chase, 23.5 fantasy points. JSN, 22 fantasy points. Then there's a really big drop-off. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 19.5 fantasy points. Then Rashee Rice, just under 18 fantasy points. Your ownership at wide receiver, it is also really slanted towards the spend-up options. Puka Nacua, 34% owned. Jamar Chase, 29% owned. Nico Collins, 16% owned. JSN, also 16% owned. So who is the most popular cheap wide receiver? It is nobody really. Wan'Dale Robinson at 5,900 is 10% owned. Juwan Jennings at 5,200 is 10% owned. Yeah, it is tough to find really good value at wide receiver for today. The top points per dollar options in our projections, you'll see here, it is the expensive guys, Jamar Chase and Puka Nacua. And then you get to a Mitch Tinsley. He's projecting as a serviceable value option with T. Higgins out, and then a JSN and another spend up option. So wide receiver, good position to be spending up for on this slate. And now finally, our tight ends. We've got Trey McBride leading the way, 17.5 fantasy points. Kittle at 15.5 fantasy points. Brock Bowers at 12. And as far as ownership of the tight end position, nothing crazy. Nobody's more than 15% owned, 14% ownership to George Kittle and Theo Johnson. Points per dollar plays at the tight end position. Also, something that's going to end up happening with the tight end spot because there is such a lack of value at running back and wide receiver in terms of super cheap value. If you're running lineups through the Sims, you're going to get a lot of double tight end lineups. That's a kind of build that I'm really going to like for today. Kind of necessary to save salary. But top points per dollar plays at tight end: Mike Gesicki, Theo Johnson, George Kittle, Colby Parkinson, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely. All right, let's go ahead and start building out some lineups here. And if you guys are looking for bets also, go on over to Tails and check that out. You can either download the Tails app or just go to tails.bet in your search bar. I know Lofty's posted a bunch of football bets for today. I'm always posting basketball bets up there. And then, of course, all the other guys, Ben, Eric, Josh, we're all posting stuff over to Tails for free. So download the app and go check us out over there. All right, what do we have for super chats that have started to come in? We've got Matt here building out a CJ Stroud lineup. So let's go ahead and look at this. He wants us to check CJ Stroud with Woody Marks, Nico Collins. And okay. All right, just optimize around it. We could certainly do that. Woody Marks, Nico Collins, 25% large field. So let's set that. Large contest, 25%. And then optimize with 0% randomness and see how it sims. All right, so we've got around CJ Stroud, Woody Marks, and Nico Collins as the double stack there. Travis Etienne, Puka Nacua, Jamar Chase, Mike Gesicki, Colby Parkinson, and the Giants defense. And let's run the sim. I think this will come out pretty solid. CJ Stroud at his price point, definitely one of the quarterbacks who I want to be getting to on this slate. And then Woody Marks, at least in the last sim that I ran, and really all the sims that I've run leading up to this slate over the course of the last few days, Woody Marks has been my most rostered player. And yeah, really strong start here for Matt's lineup. 107.5% sim ROI. Roll that one out, Matt. It's looking good. Miami Mike. Here we've got a Joe Burrow stack. All right. Joe Burrow with Derrick Henry. All right. Joe Burrow, Derrick Henry. And you got Woody Marks in there. Alongside Jamar Chase, Wan'Dale Robinson. And oh, wow, you're going like a super crazy heavy stack here. You've got Burrow with Chase, Tinsley, and Gesicki. All right, this is an interesting one. I'm curious to see how it comes out. I do like Joe Burrow for this slate. I like the matchup against the Ravens. It has one of the higher totals on the slate. And then you've also got no T. Higgins, so that's going to mean a little bit more concentrated targets to Jamar Chase, as well as a couple of not like earth-shattering value options in Tinsley and Gesicki, but relative to the other options that we have available to us on the slate, I would say that two of the better cheap options that we could be getting to. I forgot to plug Chase in at wide receiver. All right, then who'd you have at the flex? ETN and the Texans defense. All right, I like this. I like these lineups that we've built out so far. It's only been two of them, but I'd say 2 for 2 in terms of lineups that I think will sim out well. But we'll know in a second. We shall know. Burrow, Henry, Marks, Jamar Chase, Wan'Dale Robinson, Tinsley, Gesicki, ETN, Texans defense, Joe Burrow, triple stack with an 87% SIMR. We're coming out hot here. Two really highly sim lineups right out of the gate from you guys. Let's go into Discord and see if there are any questions there. If there are, I'll plug those in. If not, then I'm going to build out some of my favorite lineups that I'm going to be building around for today. And we do have a handful of questions already. All right. We've got Richie Smalls wants me to sim out a Purdy lineup here for DraftKings. And yeah, we could definitely do that. So his lineup It is Brock Purdy stacked with Kittle and Jennings. And at running back, you've got Krosky Merritt. All right, I hate this already. You've got Judkins. And then at wide receiver, you've got Jennings. Krosky Merritt just not projecting for enough fantasy points for him to end up in well-simmed ROI lineups, I think anyway. Who else do you have? You've got Chase Slayton. You've got Derrick Henry. Darius Slayton also doesn't project all that well for us. Browns defense. Are we missing somebody here? Oh, no, Henry. I said that. All right, Henry at the flex. And then the Browns defense. How does that do on salary? Was there not a tight end here? Oh, no, Kittle. I said at the top. I am an idiot. And then the Browns defense, and that uses up just about all the salary here. Oh, it does use all the salary, exactly. All right, I would be stunned if this is a positive sim ROI. I would be really surprised. I think there are ways to make Brock Purdy lineups look good, but it's already, he's somewhat contrarian, this stack. You know, Brock Purdy 7% owned, Jennings is 10% owned, Kittle, and not like super contrarian, but I don't think that this double stack is going to be utilized very much. Let's fix this. Let's take Krosky Merritt out. Let's take Judkins out, and we're going to take Slayton out and the Browns defense. I'm going to leave everything else in here. We're going to leave in Henry, Kittle, Chase, Jennings, and Purdy. And let's complete it around these guys and just take out the ones that didn't project well in the lineup. All right, so we got ETN, we got Mitch Tinsley, and we got Woody Marks, and then the Saints defense. All right, it won't be worse. I don't know if it's going to be positive, but it won't be worse than the one before. Oh, it came out really well, actually. 82.8% sim ROI. So I kept the core stack together, but we move things around, Richie, and that's going to make your lineup look at least serviceable relative to what it was before. Another super chat here. This is from Bruce Booth, a Marcus Mariota lineup. I love that game environment, the Giants and the Commanders. That game has, was it the fourth highest total on the slate, fifth highest, something like that. And none of the players are expensive. So that is definitely something that we could get to. Mariota has come down in ownership over the course of the week. Now he's only at 6%. You got two running backs that I like as well, ETN and Marks. So far, just about every lineup that we've had that simmed out well has had Woody Marks. The one lineup we built without Woody Marks didn't sim out well, but I think there were some other players that played a factor in that lineup also. My last run of sims, though, I had Woody Marks in 70% of lineups. All right, Nico Collins. You've got Terry McLaurin, Ben Sinnott at tight end. So a lot of people might be wondering why Sinnott. Sinnott does project extremely poorly for us. As a contrarian option, though, as long as everything else is decent, I think you could make somewhat of a case for Sinnott. Zach Ertz, torn ACL, going to be out for the season. But in a lineup, if it otherwise contained other contrarian players, I wouldn't go to Sinnott. But I actually do think that Sinnott is a little bit more viable than what our projections indicate. But we'll see what it looks like when we actually sim out a lineup with him. A.J. Brown, 49ers defense. Okay. Let's see if we get this to be positive. If not, we might have to take Sinnott out just because he only projects for 3 fantasy points for us. But yeah, -2. Let's see. Let's see what happens if we take Sinnott out. Let's take him out. Let's take the 49ers defense out and A.J. Brown. And yeah, I'll change the randomness now to 10%. And let's just fill out the final few spots and see what happens. We got, it just gave us a run back. Theo Johnson, Woody Marks, Packers defense. Oh no, Woody Marks already in. So Barkley. So we got Barkley instead of A.J. Brown. So you still got an Eagles player. You actually got a run back as opposed to the double stack. And there we go. Went from negative to positive. Little tinkers there, Bruce. And I think you're good to go now. All right, next lineup from Discord. Hypnotoad wants to know, is there a lower-owned game stack for a large field contest on FanDuel that I like for today? Let's build out a FanDuel lineup. Haven't done that yet. All right. So the answer is yes. I already had one built out there. It's actually a leftover from a lineup that Lofty and I built on the Wednesday lineup building show. But I actually want to build a lineup around that same team, Jalen Hurts. So we're getting Jalen Hurts on FanDuel at 2% ownership. And here's Hypnotoad's question. Is there a lower owned game stack that I like for a large field contest on FanDuel today? I like this for FanDuel and DraftKings. It's going to be Jalen Hurts double stacks. So Jalen Hurts to A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. Devonta Smith is what? 2% owned on FanDuel. A.J. Brown is 4% owned, and Jalen Hurts is 2% owned. Great matchup against the Raiders, and you're also getting a little bit of leverage off of Barkley because Barkley is not super popular on FanDuel, but he is 14% owned, which makes him like the 6th or 7th highest projected running back in terms of ownership over on FanDuel. But you're getting an Eagles offense that, in general, the public is very low on right now. A great matchup against the Raiders and one of the highest individual team totals on the slate. This has been a wildly inconsistent team the entire season. You start to buy into the Eagles, and then they look like dog shit. You start to think this Eagles team is wildly different from last year. There's no chance that they can make a playoff run, and then all of a sudden they start to look really good again. They've been all over the map this season, but I do think that in a game against the Raiders, we can't deny the upside that they have. The odds of them reaching that upside, that's up for debate, but I think it's more warranted than Jalen Hurts being 2% owned, Devonta Smith being 2% owned, and A.J. Brown being 4% owned. So this is a contrarian stack that I like over on FanDuel, and I'm just going to complete around these three guys at 10% ran this and just see what the sims give us, or the optimizer gives us around these guys before we sim it out. So we got Woody Marks, we got Kenneth Walker, Michael Wilson, we got George Kittle, and Tyrone Tracy. Overall, this is a pretty low-owned lineups. Panthers defense, too. So we've got really low-owned stack, which went over. You've got, some more popular running backs, but Michael Wilson, 12% owned. Kittle's popular. Tyrone Tracy's only 12% owned, and then an 8% owned Panthers defense. Let's sim it out. We'll see how it looks. 40.9% sim ROI. For a stack that's that low owned, I like this a lot for large field tournaments. My last run of sims, I gave an ROI boost to Jalen Hurts when I was running lineups for FanDuel and DraftKings. I had around 10% of Jalen Hurts, which at his ownership, that's well overweight to the field to him. And it's not like my entire day is invested in the Eagles. 10% Eagles stacks, and you're like 4 or 5x the field based on what their current ownership is. I think it's a good way to go. All right, the next super chat, it is from Boogie. Boogie wants to build out a Jackson Dart lineup. Dart, Marks, Chuba Hubbard. I don't know how well Chuba Hubbard lineups are going to sim, but we'll give it a go. Puka Nacua, JSN. You've got okay, let's plug this in. I think this is a DraftKings lineup, but I'm not positive. If there isn't a lineup that's specified, I usually default to assume you guys mean DraftKings. All right, Dart. You've got Marks and Hubbard. And Hubbard, for your guys' information, 11 fantasy point projection, 3% ownership. He is only $4,600, though. Good matchup against the Saints. I just think it sets up a little bit more for a Rico Dowdle game than Chuba Hubbard. Let's see. Puka Nacua at wide receiver. JSN. You've got Io Manor in here. Help if I spelled it correctly. You've got Likely and Amon-Ra St. Boy, you fit in a lot of pay up wide receivers into this. You were able to jam in Puka Nacua, JSN, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Okay. All right. It's a unique build for sure. And the Raiders defense. No stacking partner, though, with Jackson Dart. If I'm going to play a quarterback naked on the slate, Dart's probably the one I'm most likely to do it with, but this could impact your sim ROI a little bit. 1.2%. Not terrible, not great either. I do think if we took out, let's try this. Let's take out Amon-Ra St. Brown. Let's take out Io Menor, and let's take out Chuba Hubbard. Let's go Wan'Dale Robinson. That'll give you a stacking option. Let's take out the Raiders defense too, just in case there's something better that ends up potentially fitting in. And all right, so what do we have here now? Dart, ETN Marks, Nakua, JSN, Wan'Dale Robinson, Mike Gesicki, and Isaiah Likely with the Titans defense. All right, let's see how this comes out compared to the 1.2% sim ROI. Yeah, I mean, we kept the integrity of the lineup together, still largely giving you the guys that you want, but just by making a couple of these changes here, most notably just giving Jackson Dart a stacking partner and Wan'Dale Robinson, 113.3% sim ROI. So went from a lineup that was about expected to break even to a lineup that you're expected to about double your money with. Make those changes. All right, a FanDuel lineup here. Another Jackson Dart lineup, but over on FanDuel from Angst 23. Let's do it. Dart, CMC, Neal, Robinson, Nakua, Williams, Fannin, Marks, and the Saints defense. All right. Let's see how a Dart lineup looks over on FanDuel. Just did one that ended up looking good on the DraftKings side of things. How will the FanDuel Jackson Dart lineup end up comparing? McCaffrey. You've got Neal. I think Neal's playable on FanDuel and DraftKings, but to me looks marginally better on FanDuel, just at the cheaper price point. Nakua. You've got Jameson Williams. What was it? Wan'Dale Robinson as the other wide receiver. And then at tight end, you've got Harold Fannin, and then you got Woody Marks in the flex. All right. I like this lineup. I think this will be another winner. I think so anyway. I've been wrong before. You also got a little bit of correlation with Neal and the Saints defense. Not necessarily necessary, but it's going to help it out, marginally here. Yeah, Elegant in the chat saying everyone is on Woody Marks today. He will bust today. I think it's a really good spot for Woody Marks. I personally think he's good chalk for today. He's also, while he is the most popular running back, he's 30% owned. It's not like we've got some sort of insane ownership projection on him. I think the reality is we've got a lot of people here who, are just more experienced DFS players and recognize that without Nick Chubb, Woody Marks is one of the only available running back options on the slate that projects as good value. I think that the lineups we're building out, while there are a lot of Woody Marks and he is expected to be somewhat popular, it's not like he's literally going to be 100% owned by the field. We're just, we've got a group of sharper DFS players here in general, and that's just skewing more people to play Woody Marks. Don't make the lineups building out here make you think that Woody Marks is going to be like close to 100% owned. It's just kind of more of a symptom of us knowing what's up a little bit here. All right, we've got another one here. This is from Deep Balls Deep. Hurts, ETN, Marks, Wan'Dale Robinson, McLaurin, AJ Brown, likely Devonta Smith, Texans defense on DraftKings. All right, so we built out the contrarian. Back to DraftKings. We built out the contrarian Jalen Hurts lineup over on FanDuel already. Now we're going to give it a go on DraftKings and see what it looks like on DK. It simmed out really well on the FanDuel side of things. All right, we've got Hurts, ETN, Marks, and then Wan'Dale Robinson, McLaurin. I like that too. So with Wan'Dale Robinson and Terry McLaurin, you've got yourself a mini game stack in here as well, because you've got them going against each other. The Commanders playing the Giants today. So plug in that mini game stack. Wan'Dale Robinson with Terry McLaurin. And then you've got AJ Brown, Isaiah Likely at tight end, and then Devonta Smith at the flex spot. And then who'd you go with in the defense? It was the Texans. All right. Let's give this a run. I think this is going to look good. One of my favorite, actually, my absolute favorite contrarian stack on the slate. Not one of my favorite, my favorite. Came out with a 15.6% sim ROI. So this did not sim out quite as well on the DraftKings side of things as it did on FanDuel. But let's make a couple of adjustments here. Let's just take likely out of tight end and the defense spot. And let's just see if we optimize without those two. Instead, we got Gesicki and the Seahawks defense. I think these might be ones that project a little bit better for us. And this should help it out a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, 28.5% sim ROI. That gave it a little bit of a boost. All right. Let's see. We got Greg. Great name. Dart, ETN, Marks, AJ Brown, Puka Nacua, Jameson Williams, Theo Johnson, Isaiah Likely, and the Seahawks defense. So I think this lineup might suffer from the same issue as that other Jackson Dart lineup that we simmed out before, which is just no stack with him. And then once we plugged in Wan'Dale Robinson, we ended up getting significantly higher sim ROI by giving him a stacking option in the lineup. But let's try another one. Another Jackson Dart naked lineup. Marks. We've got Amon-Ra St. Brown. Oh, no, AJ Brown. My bad. AJ Brown. AJ Brown, Puka Nacua, Jameson Williams. And then you've got, oh, no, you did. You have Theo Johnson. I'm a donk. You did have a stacking partner. Likely. And the Seahawks defense. All right, let's give this one a run. Let's give this one a run. By the way, also, we have a new login system here over at Stochastic. So 49.1% sim ROI. Looks solid there, Greg. So we do have a new login system here over at Stochastic. It is going to require you to change your password. You'll see a prompt for that on the site. So one thing just to give yourself the best experience, just go ahead, change your password. You'll get an email to get a request form, and there is a chance that'll get sent to your spam. So if you do try to reset your password and you don't immediately see the email, just check your spam folder. There's a pretty good chance that it will show up there. All right, lots more questions coming in here for lineups. We've got Red Rum Rocks, Stroud. Okay. A Stroud lineup. The first lineup of the day we built, if I remember correctly, was a Stroud lineup, but we haven't seen one since. So we've got Stroud, ETN Marks, the most popular running back combination by a mile that we've seen across your guys' lineups, Woody Marks and Travis Etienne. Wide receiver, Puka Nacua and Nico Collins. We've also got Terry McLaurin. One thing that's really interesting about your guys' lineups, we're seeing a ton of Puka Nacua, but not a whole lot of Ja'Marr Chase, which is interesting because we have them projected comparably in terms of ownership. Puka Nacua, yeah, a little bit higher, 34% ownership to Puka Nacua, 28% to Ja'Marr Chase. But in terms of the lineups you guys have built, it's leaned heavily towards Puka Nacua and Ja'Marr Chase not showing up really at all, which I find to be a little bit interesting about the lineups we built out so far. So maybe Ja'Marr Chase will end up being a little bit lower on than we have projected just based on that. Maybe not, though. Could just be a small sample size of lineups that we built out. Fannin and then the Chargers defense. Also, if you guys have not done it yet, do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and also another reminder to go check out Tails. Download the Tails app or just go to tails.bet in your search bar. And if you're enjoying your Tails experience and you are using the app, do us a favor, leave a 5-star review. It's stuff like that that helps keep our content free. It also helps us expand out the content, because what will happen is if you guys like Tails, you leave it a 5-star review, then what that's going to do is then the Google Play Store, the Apple App Store, that's going to signal to people, oh, this is a good app that we're going to recommend to other people. And that's something that helps us expand. And once again, everything that I post over on Tails, it's totally free. So go ahead. There's nothing that you are going to be paying by downloading the Tails app, and it really does help support our content. So if you could do that, greatly appreciate it. And also going to be some good content for yourself as well at no cost. And this lineup, the CJ Stroud one, 83.3% sim ROI. So good looking lineup there, Red Rum. Ruben, in all capital letters, Stafford, Puka Nacua, ETN, Gibbs, Jaden Higgins, Jaden Reed, Evan Ingram, and the Jags defense. Let's do it. Here, I'm going to also, just to stay in the spirit of the lineup, I'm turning the cap locks on for when I type in all these players' names here. There we go. More in the spirit of the lineup. Stafford, who you have ETN and Gibbs. All right, so this is a Woody Marksless lineup. So let's see if we can make a lineup without Woody Marks sim out well. Jaden Higgins. Higgins does not project well for us. That's going to probably be a little bit problematic. 9 fantasy points at $4,200. We've got Jaden Reed, who also doesn't sim out all that well. 9 fantasy points at $4,500. Then you've got in here Puka Nacua as your stack with Stafford. At tight end, Evan Ingram. Another one, 7.5 fantasy point projection. Doesn't project all that well for us. I do think that one issue you're going to run into with this lineup is just a lot of players who have marginal projections. Also, let's see. So Stafford, put him in. Nacua, he's in the lineup. We've got ETN, got him in already. Plug Gibbs in. Okay. Higgins, we've got Higgins. Reed, we've got Reed. We've got Evan Ingram. Jags defense. All right, so we are missing one spot here. So let's see who projects the best at the flex at $3,300. Let's see if we press show affordable players. It's going to have to be Mike Gesicki to make it fit. Yeah, I think this lineup probably a little bit too thin. I think this is going to be a negative sim ROI. All right. Wasn't quite negative, 6.4% sim ROI. So that is a little bit better than I thought it was going to end up coming out at. But I do think this could be improved a little bit. You've got guys, even Woody Marks still got a positive sim ROI, but guys like Jaden Reed, Jaden Higgins, Evan Ingram, it's okay to play one of these guys or so in a lineup. But I think all of them in one lineup might be a little bit too contrarian, and you're sacrificing a little bit too much as far as your projected ownership there, Ruben. Alexander Williams, a Lamar Jackson lineup. Yes. One thing that is really fun about slates of this size is we're getting a ton of different stacks here. Like, I mean, we've had, how many different quarterbacks have we used in lineups now? 10, 11, something like that. There aren't that many slates where we can do that. Ooh, Kyron Williams at running back. We haven't built out a Kyron Williams lineup. Has started to lose out a little bit of work to Blake Corum. Corum had a massive game last week. Tutu Atwell. Atwell is going to, in all likelihood, kill this lineup, but maybe not. We only have Atwell projected for 3 fantasy points. JSN, Andrews, and Bateman. Okay, and then you've got the Patriots defense. Why is Bateman not showing up? All right, so let's go to the Ravens here really quick. Yeah, we don't have a projection on Bateman for today. So with that in mind, I would say don't have him in your lineup. Let's instead optimize around the final 2 spots. Oh, no, you know what the issue is? He doesn't fit. All right. Well, we got Likely in here instead for the double tight end lineup. Yeah, negative 44.8% sim ROI. All right. So, yeah, with Bateman with the 0 fantasy point projection, us not expecting to play today, tried plugging Likely in instead, but it didn't come out looking all that great. Let's go to, all right, let's take some of these guys out. Okay. Let's take Kyron Williams out. Let's take out, I mean, we're taking Bateman out anyway, just because, 0 fantasy point projection. We're not expecting him to play. So let's complete the lineup around some of the other spots. All right. So, all right, let's get everything selected and complete the lineup. All right. So now we've got Lamar Jackson, ETN, Marks, Chase, JSN, Jacoby Myers, Mark Andrews, Mike Gesicki, Raiders defense. Still have a Lamar Jackson stack. Let's see how this comes out instead. Way better. Look at that. I mean, the other one had a guy with a 0 fantasy point projection, but either way, there we go. This is actually a very good looking Lamar Jackson lineup. By the way, if you guys wouldn't mind, a ton of super chats are piling up right now. We do have Ben and Lofty coming up for the deep dive right after this. So I want to make sure that I get to all of your guys' lineups and I'm not going like way over their time. So for any lineups that, if any super chats come in, I'll still answer them. But if you guys wouldn't mind, leave any questions that you have as questions for Ben and Lofty on the deep dive or for Eric and Spags on Live Before Lock. I'm going to run out of time to plug in all of your guys' lineups here. But I'll get to all the ones that we still have here. Dimichi, another Lamar Jackson lineup. Okay. Lamar Jackson with ETN and Marks. The trusted running back duo that we've been plugging into like 75% of lineups here. Puka Nacua and Tinsley. And let's see. We've got Likely and Andrews, the double tight end lineup. Who is the final wide receiver? Oh, Jamar Chase. Finally, Jamar Chase lineup. All right, so really heavy game stack. Lamar Jackson, 2 run backs and 2 stack partners, and it's double tight end. So this is going to be a really unique build. I'm pretty curious to see how this one ends up coming out, but I do like all of the pieces that you have here. Okay, Likely and the Jaguars defense. All right. Jackson, ETN, Marks, Nacua, Tinsley, Chase, Andrews, Likely, Jags defense. Nice. It's positive. I wanted that one to be positive because I like that build. It has a lot of individually popular pieces, right? Like Lamar Jackson, ETN, Marks, Puka Nacua, Jamar Chase. But you've combined all these players in a really unique way to where that's going to be a lineup that's pretty different than what the field is rolling out. What was the next one? Austin. All right. Austin's got a Stafford lineup, double stack Stafford with Puka and Adams. All right. We haven't built out a Stafford double stack, and we haven't had Devontae Adams in a lineup yet either. So this will be our first look at a Devontae Adams lineup. The normal running back combo, ETN and Marks. I wouldn't be surprised if ETN it comes in higher owned than what our projection is. We have him at 14%, but number one, I personally just look at him as one of the top running back options on the slate, but also you guys in the lineups you're submitting are rostering him just as much as Woody Marks. I wouldn't be surprised if ETN ends up being pretty chalky today. Nacua, Tinsley, Adams. So that completes the double stack. Gesicki, you got Neal. And, this is a FanDuel lineup. My bad. All right, let's go back over to FanDuel there. I missed at the end that he said FanDuel. That's on me. All right, Stafford, Marks, ETN. It's going to be the same players, just making sure I have it plugged into the right site. Puka Nacua, Adams, Tinsley. And then you had at tight end, Gesicki. You had Neal. I don't think we've built out a Stafford lineup over on FanDuel yet. I think all the ones we've built out have been on DraftKings, if I remember correctly. So this will be our first look at Stafford on FanDuel. And we'll see how the double stack looks. For what it's worth, we've got Devontae Adams 15% owned on FanDuel. Tinsley is 8% owned. And lineup. Yeah, looks good. 86% sim ROI. Roll it out, Austin. That one's good to play. We've got Shakir here. Wants to know, are there any 2,500 tight ends that I would play on DraftKings? All right, what are the price points at tight end? Let's see. So not 2,500, right? Let's look at, I'll go back over to DraftKings. There are sub 3K guys that I think are viable to get to, but I don't know all the way down to 2,500. That might be a little bit thin. All right. Tight ends. Who's our best projected 2,500 tight end? It is. All right. It is Jeremy Ruckert at just under 6 fantasy points. So if it has to be somebody, he's the one who projects best for us. But yeah, I'm not really looking to play Jeremy Ruckert. I'll tell you, in my last run of the Sims, I had 0% of him. If it has to be one, he's the guy. But no, not who I'd really want to play. Goody. Another Dart lineup here. We've got Dart, Gibbs, Marks, Nakua, JSN, Tinsley, Theo Johnson, Jaceki, Packers defense, and then says find a way to get him off of Tinsley. Okay. All right. So let's plug the lineup in. And what he wants is to get off of Tinsley. Okay. Dart. So let's plug in all the guys as he has them, and then we'll toy around with it to get Tinsley out of the lineup. Gibbs, Marks, Nakua, JSN, Tinsley. And then we'll see if we could end up taking Tinsley out of this lineup. 3,100. Theo Johnson and Jaceki. Okay. So here's going to be the easiest way to do it. Don't play the Packers defense. So we'll save salary. And instead of Tinsley, all right, sort by value. Who's somebody else that's cheap that projects well for us? I'll also press sort by affordable players. Okay, so at wide receiver, somebody who's cheap that projects well but isn't Tinsley. All right, so we're sorted by points per dollar projections. We've got Coker at $3,900. There's Iomenor at 3,500. We could plug him in instead. Doesn't project all that poorly. Yeah, let's try Coker and see what that gives us. Only 2K. Okay, so I guess it can't be Coker. But we could do, I think we could do Iomenor. And that gives us 2,400 at defense. All right, that works. And we go Titans defense. Let's see if it comes out positive. So Dart, Gibbs, Marks, Nakua, JSN, Iomenor, Theo Johnson, Jaceki, and then instead we switch up the defense. Yeah, 70% sim ROI. Still works there, Goody, and we got Tinsley out of the lineup. 2 left. We've got Grisor. He wants to do a Kenny Pickett lineup. What are you doing? My guy. If you want to torture yourself, just go out in the cold naked and all the snow. Don't play Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett, we have projected for 11 fantasy points. He is 0.13% owned. Marks and Rico Dowdle. Now I'm curious as we go through, who do you have him stacked with? You have, okay. You got Betch in the lineup. You've got A.J. Brown. Oh, you got A.J. Brown and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I was looking for a second. I was trying to figure out which Brown you had in the lineup, and then I realized it's both of them. A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jack Betch. Then you went with, I assume that's Bowers at tight end. You've got, I assume you mean by Bride. I assume that's Trey McBride at tight end. And then the Jets defense. Interesting. Lineup does fit within the salary constraints. I was getting a little nervous at the end there. It wasn't going to fit. I would be really surprised if this sims out decently. Yeah, negative 69% sim ROI. It just Kenny Pickett lineup's just not going to look good. He doesn't project well enough. Neither do the Raiders offense as a whole. That's just going to be the issue. We're not going to be able to get those lineups to work. All right, another good name here, Greg. Greg is building out a Lamar Jackson lineup with Marks and Neal. Lamar Jackson, Marks, Neal, Nakua. All right, and then who do you have Lamar paired with? You've got him likely. Okay, you got Jamar Chase, Terry McLaurin. You've got Likely and Fannin for a double tight end lineup. And I think this should come out positive, and hopefully it does, because that'll give us a high note to sign off on before flipping this over to the deep dive guys in Ben and Laffy. And Panthers defense. All right. Let's plug this in, sim it out, and hope it's a winner. And once again, if you guys have not done it yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and don't go anywhere. 41.6% sim ROI. There we go. Greg, from one Greg to another. Good work there. You got a positive sim ROI lineup with Lamar Jackson. So that is going to do it for my portion of the show. Like the video, subscribe. Go check out Tails as well. Ben and Laffy, they're coming up next. They've got bets up on Tails. I've got basketball bets up on Tails, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that you're going to be able to find for free on Tails as well. Download the app, leave us a positive review, and guys, have a great Sunday, and good luck with your lineups. Hope one of you wins $1 million today. I will see you back here later today. Once I press the button. There we go. It took me a second to find it. Here it is, the real sign off.
Yo, good morning. Welcome to the Stokastic.com NFL Deeper Dive 13-game slate, week 15. Got 6 inches of snow here today, man.
Yeah, here too.
Yeah, I was shoveling all morning.
I know, you and me both.
I like it. Throw the AirPods in. It wasn't too bad out there. There's an odd,
Yeah, until you keel over from a...
What's that?
From a coronary, but sure.
It's nice, dude. It's cathartic.
They say snow, like shoveling is like the most, it's like...
For your heart?
It's like, oh, it's worth 15 packs of cigarettes. Like, I doubt that, but I could see it being somewhat dangerous.
I don't understand that. Like, why would it not be good for you to shovel snow?
I don't know.
I think it's people that go out there who haven't done anything in a long time.
Yeah, that's me.
And that's
exactly it.
Yeah, but you're not.
I want to get it done, so I'm just like,
right.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm saying if it's somebody who like is generally in decent health, I can't imagine it's bad for you. But if you're someone that's like, getting off the couch for the first time in a while, begrudgingly stepping out there, and shoveling snow, I could see why that is dangerous. But aside from that, why is it maybe I'm wrong. What would make it different than any other kind of exercise?
I don't know. But you know what? I made it. 13 games.
Yeah, man.
It's a big boy. We're going to be we'll be on our A game today because we're going to have to not go rapid fire. We're going to get everything in. We'll be completely fine, but there's a lot to get to at the same time.
Well, happy to have you guys here. As always, if you don't mind, atone for your sins this fine morning. Hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and leave it. Don't do that. No shelf life here. Stick around after the show because Eric and Spags are coming up, taking you all the way up to 1 o'clock lock. We do have some pending injury news. but I don't think it's anything all that significant. Like there are a few spots that we'll pay attention to. The whole backfield in Green Bay is a little bit weird right now, just because like Jacobs, I saw a press conference earlier in the week and he's like, yeah, it is bothering me. Like I'm playing through it, but it's bothering me. And then Emmanuel Wilson behind him, well, he has an illness. But outside of that, like Nick Chubb's not expected to play. That's no surprise. T. Higgins is already out. It doesn't feel like, unless we get some weird kind of out of the blue type of news, I don't know how much we're actually waiting on going into the inactives at 11:30.
No, it's not. I don't think it's going to be like crazy, say you built everything and you get this one piece of news and you got to start from scratch. It's not like that, but there are these little pieces that have a domino effect. And so we'll see. I'm not super concerned about it. I think it's not a straightforward slate. They never are, but I don't think we're waiting on something where everything is rendered useless until we get that news. That's not how I'm approaching it.
Agreed. And Matt Murphy, of course, I'm a doctor. The reason people have heart attacks while shoveling snow is because they're soft. Are you a doctor? Are you a cardiologist? That would be how any cardiologist watching the show this morning.
That was when I was in med school, that was my field. And, it's definitely something that it's dangerous if you're not tuned up, right?
Now I'm scared to shovel snow again.
You should be.
I might just never do it. Collect the fine.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. This is more important. Let's see our man hopefully take it down today.
Yeah, man. Match sheets. Coach asked.
Bullets.
Yeah, dude. Good luck, brother. Appreciate you. Appreciate the super chat. We got a good amount of stochastic representatives out there. Deepak, who just took down a Millie's been killing it. Our boy Morgan is out there. Morgan Wiper's out there. So we got a lot. Shout out to you guys. Good luck today. This should be a fun one, man. And you got a 13-game slate, a very interesting one. Ghetto Farmer Boy with the free super chat member for 55 months. What a guy. Perfect duo while I fire up the snowblower. Yeah, that's not a terrible idea, man. Just crank up the headphones and let's get to work. Don't have a heart attack.
I feel like I might die on the stream, actually. So.
That would not be good if one of us.
It would be good for the company, bad for me. I'm sure that'd be a viewing bonanza.
I've thought about that before. It's like super morbid, but I've thought about that if I just had an episode, because I'm always we're always live.
I'm due to have a panic attack on one of these, but
I've thought about would Ben know how to call 911 to would someone know how to get them to my property? Or would I just be toast right here on the stream? Everyone sees it. It goes live, then they pull it, but then it works its way onto a Gorgrish, one of those type of websites, and people watch that as well. And that's how
you haven't thought about this much, clearly. So
that's how I'm remembered. So if it happens, guys, well, I guess enjoy it. Anyway, let's get into this one, man. Have a little bit of fun here and start it off with the New York Jets, Jacksonville Jaguars, 13.5-point spread in this one, Ben. There are some games I think we'll be able to navigate relatively quickly. As far as the Jet side of this game goes, I'll be honest, I'm not really sure this is the type of spot that I intend on getting a ton of. I'll throw the Sims exposures up here. I'm going to throw it on 4 uniques just to smooth it out a little bit. And then we'll work through all of this together, see where we're at on each team, and see what it gets to. But as it stands right now, you have no Tyrod Taylor. You have no Justin Fields. If you did, I might actually have some willingness to go to this game. You have 26 teams on this slate. With that in mind, how much do you actually need to get to a team like this? And to me, the answer is very, very, very little.
Yeah, there's an argument to be made that if the Jets were at full strength, they could have some utility, even on a slate this big, but they're not. And they're not even close to full strength. They're missing pieces and then backup pieces, and they have no quarterback. And as you can see, we're getting very minimal ownership. And even the people we do, you're talking about a flyer here or there. There's no stackability to this team. If you have money, the Jaguars defense is going to be a pay-up defense of choice. Seattle's defense there's a lot of pay-up defenses that we're going to talk about today, but this is an easy team. You do not need to be cute here. Get the Jets off the screen.
You say when they're at full strength, they could have some utility. They have, right? Like
Yeah.
Mechie 3 weeks ago, Mitchell 2 weeks ago was wildly necessary for Millie's. And then last week, we'll kind of never know, right? Because Tyrod Taylor went down and Fields was out. But yes, it could have been one of those spots once again where they were actually viable. Yeah, it's just not the case. And yeah, Mason Taylor is out as well. I saw some people asking Greg about Jeremy Ruckert. Go for it, but at the same time, I don't see the necessity because the tight end position already has guys scattered across with better quarterbacks with higher totals in more than likely more competitive games as well. So I don't intend on getting to this game. Look, if I think we can agree on this. If we end up getting burned because Cook goes out there, because Brady Cook goes out there and has a crazy game and we didn't stack to any of these guys, I live with it. You know, it is what it is. I'm not gonna lose sleep over that.
No. And you're not like, again, you never know, but even if that happened in a 1 in 1,000 outcome, there's not going to be many people it's not like, oh, I had to have that guy. Yeah. It
right. Just nice. Like, honestly, just like the Cleveland game, yes. Like the Titans last week.
Yeah. Like Tony Pollard, he was like 0.4% owned. And yes, right. If you had him, incredible. But it wasn't that, a couple weeks ago, Gibbs went for 50 and he was like 35% on. If you didn't have him, it was over. And that's the difference between this and that.
So I mentioned this guy a lot throughout the week, and I'm happy to see that he's come up now. Talking about Travis Etienne, right? This to me is just one of those spots where on the Jacksonville side, you've got him not only seeing a significant workload, but also the fact that Tootin last week fumbled twice. Right? He had 2 carries. He had 2 carries. One of them was a lost fumble. They evaluated him for a concussion. That may have been them just take your helmet off, pal, and then whacking him on the head with something. You're not good. No, he was cleared to return, but he never did. And you could argue that it was because of the blowout, but also, and I'm not saying he doesn't get any work. I'm not saying there's a flat out like Jaden Blue situation where he's just inactive today, although who knows? But I do think you could just see a really significant workload for Travis Etienne today. And for that reason, at his mid 6K price point, this is a spot that I'm perfectly willing to get to. You're talking about a team that's a 13.5, 14-point favorite this afternoon.
Yeah, there's no doubt. If you look at his, I put in some bets on tails this morning, and I actually looked to Etienne for an anytime touchdown, and I couldn't get there because it was too juiced, just showing you his equity to find the end zone today. So I get it. Home favorite, big home favorite. You couldn't ask for a much better situation.
It was minus 170 on DraftKings earlier in the week. Every other book was like minus 220. So I'd imagine everything is now north of minus 200.
It was in that range, which is, again, you'll love it for DFS. I didn't love it for betting.
Einsteinium, I'm not convinced it doesn't go back to a split. It was never really a split, though.
He also can coexist. So I was playing ETN in several weeks where Tootin had red zone equity, vulture equity, and ETN was still getting there. He was in the Wildcat in the red zone several times. You can, even if you get that, which is unfortunate, you're not drawing dead with ETN shares.
Yep. Super chat from DAPLP. Thanks. Cook, ETN, Chubb. Well, you can't go Chubb because he's not going to play. So
yeah, don't do that. Puka, Chase, ASB, Rucker too. Thoughts on? I mean, it seems like a ton of salary. That's why Rucker's probably in there. I also don't know who your quarterback is.
Who's TMC?
The McMillan.
Yeah, it must be. Come on, dude. You gotta like speed. I'm not sharp enough on a Sunday morning to figure out all of these.
There's no quarterback in there, right?
No, Brady Cook.
Oh, Brady Cook. I'm thinking James. I thought he's going 3 running backs.
Yeah, Brady Cook, ETN, Chubb. I mean, look.
Oh, that's Terry McLaurin also. So don't mind me.
Right, but it could have been Tedero and McMillan.
Yeah, that's
what I'm saying. It could have been anybody.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, first of all, you already identified the Chubb thing. The one benefit of the Jets, of course, is you can allocate crazy options everywhere else. I don't see many viable paths for them to have an effective passing attack today. That's all.
Yeah, like I see what he's trying to do there.
Yep.
But also I think you can actually do something similar with like another 5K quarterback, and you might not be able to get Nakua, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Jamar Chase, but you should still be able to build better lineups, I think, too.
Yeah. I will say.
Oh, by the way, he's right. There is a character count
Okay.
on the super chat. So I got you, man. Yep, that is true. Very true.
And if you're going to do it, the reason you play those guys is because you say, I need a combination that you simply cannot get unless I do that. Like, I think these superstars are all going for 35 today, and I'll live with the rest. That's the reason you would do that. I just, again, it's very hard to know if Ruckert and Cook can even hold their own now.
Yeah. Outside of ETN, by the way, I don't love this team.
Me neither.
If Parker Washington was out, I think I'd have a lot more interest in Jacoby Myers today. Maybe even Brenton Strange, get a little bit of him. But at 4,200, that's tough too, because there's all these 3K tight ends that look great. But Parker Washington logged a full practice on Friday. My expectation is he plays. And if that's the case, Myers looks okay, but I mean, not a priority to me. So really from this game, it's Travis Etienne, and then it's going to be a little bit of Jacoby Myers. More Jacoby Myers in the event that Parker Washington is out. But I will throw this out at you, Ben. Last thing on this one. I don't want to spend too much time here. I do think there probably is some path for like a Trevor Lawrence double against the Jets as big favorites, because I'm not the only one. We aren't the only ones thinking that Travis Etienne is a good play today. So it is not the craziest pivot. I would rather go Trevor Lawrence doubles than just one-offing the Jags pass catchers. That's the way I would put it.
I agree with that. I would also say, I don't mind if you want to do that, just put ETN in the lineup.
You could do that too.
Like, you could do Lawrence, ETN, and then pick a receiver. Like, That's another way to do it.
Eric Mullen just skipped the game. Now, there's some spots in this game for sure. I mean, they're big favorites.
Not on the Jets side.
Well, yeah, sure, on the Jets side. Also, weather isn't nearly as much a problem as we have in some. Not a problem, but there's some really cold games today. I'm in the suburbs of Philadelphia, and we just got hit with like 6 inches of snow. Everything should be cleared by the time this game goes off. A little bit of wind. I don't think it's anything super significant. Talking about the Raiders and Philly, you know my thoughts on this all week long. I'm interested in the Philly passing attack. I think the overwhelming opinion from most people that I've talked to that have been in chat, that I've seen on Twitter and all of that, is that, this is going to be an Eagles run heavy approach. And while you might be totally right, I'm not fully buying into that. The prevailing logic is like, well, you have to go run heavy after what happened with Hurts on Monday night. 4 picks, couple brutal ones, 5 total turnovers, 2 on the same play. Just a terrible game from Hurts. I think you could also view this as a spot where they look to reestablish his confidence. And, you have a game like this at home as 12.5-point favorites. It would not shock me if they go in and decide to air the ball out with Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. And if that ownership really is that low, and Saquon Barkley truly is getting that much more ownership than everybody else. And this is not to say that I think Barkley is a bad play, just that I think you're getting way too low ownership on the passing attack against what has actually been somewhat of a pass funnel defense for the Raiders. So that's where I'm at here. You guys already know if you've watched throughout the week. I won't belabor the point. I'm going to have some Jalen Hurts singles, skinnies. I'm going to have some Jalen Hurts doubles, and I plan on getting above the field there.
Yeah, the beautiful thing about this is I think I can cover all the bases here to be right. And sometimes you have the luxury of that with a team, and usually it's not the Eagles. I like Saquon a lot. So does everybody else. I'll have a decent amount, a healthy amount, and I can get leverage if I want to. I can allocate, 10, 15% to Eagles passing stacks, and I have some pieces of Devonta Smith, A.J. Brown, Goddard, skinnies, whatever it may be, Onslaught, simply because the ownership that we're projecting is very low. And when you have that, you just have the ability to mix and match here. So I agree. I'm a little surprised. My guess, just again, this is just me guessing, the Eagles are a little more popular. in the passing attack because it does work pretty easily when you go to build them. But we'll see how much I get. You don't get better get right spots than at home against the dusty Raiders, who are just awful. I like it. Saquon's the most obvious target, but similar to Jacksonville, everybody thinks that. So you're getting leverage in the same team here.
I think so. Yeah, and someone asked, would you play one-offs here in the passing game? Sure. Yeah, I have no problem one-offing a $5,800 Devonta Smith or a $6,800 AJ Brown. Even Dallas Goedert at sub 4K. I think he's perfectly fine too. Any of these guys, right? I have no problem with that whatsoever. But you just said it. This is kind of one of those games where when you are a 12.5-point favorite, anything can happen. It could be the ground game or the Eagles just suck. I had people in my comments of the video when I said in my picks for every game video on the OddsShopper channel, I was like, if the Eagles win this game by 3 points, it's the same thing as losing it. Like, in my opinion, they win this by 3, it's the same thing as losing. The season's over. They're like, man, come on. What are you talking about? It's true. If you don't go in and flatten this Raiders team after an embarrassingly bad loss and a putrid offensive performance on primetime on Monday Night Football, I don't really care. Like, it means nothing to me. You have to come in and annihilate this team. And if you don't, well then, things are going to get bad and kind of already are. So if you want to play it for that game script, which I think in some of these builds I definitely will, that's the way to do it. I also don't think Ashton Genty is a crazy option either on the other side. And let me explain this to you, Ben, because I'm sure you're probably shaking your head inside. I don't think it's nuts for one reason, right? Check this out. If you just go to the prop market today, Ashton Genty has a 16.5 rushing attempts prop, which is actually pretty high for a guy that's in the 5K range. His rushing yards is only 53.5. That's really not great, but total touchdowns 2-1. So you start talking about all of these numbers. Are they great? No, but 76.5 rushing plus receiving. I think his receptions prop is at 3.5 right now. 3.5 with no real juice to the under. So you're talking, he's projected for like 21 touches at that price point. Let me see what his ownership is as well, because that'll dictate a lot for me. Let's see. Ashton Genty ownership is 7%. We're only getting 4%. I actually think he's an okay play today that no one's going to want to get to.
Yeah. Again, you know what you're getting into here. You talk about 20 total touches. 10 of them will be touches that he cannot do anything with because he's tackled in the backfield by 4 guys. Sure. He needs to make the most of the receptions. He needs to make the most of, he's an explosive player. So it only takes a couple to get him in space. It's just kind of that risk reward of, he's going to get some volume, and it's some of the most inefficient volume across the league just because of how bad the Raiders offensive line is. But the price continues to drop. It's a 38-point total, so the touchdown equity isn't that bad, but the market itself is telling you if the Raiders score a couple touchdowns, chances are that Genty, he's amongst the favorites to actually do it.
Right. And I'm not excited about him, but there is this too, Ben. As much as we want to talk about how they can't run the ball and all of that is true, but what about the fact that the Eagles defensively, the run defense in 2 of their last 3, and not only that, but the fact that this Eagles team is dysfunctional right now too. We don't know what version of the Eagles we're getting either, is essentially what I'm saying. So to me, that type of uncertainty gives us some opportunity to make decisions on guys that are low owned. And I just think overall, this game is a little bit more low owned than I would have expected, given the spread and just simply given we don't really know what to expect.
Yeah, I mean, I would be stunned if the Raiders, look good in the sense that they're, I think, maybe the worst team in the league. But Genty at that price can coexist both independently of Eagle stacks or nothing else. That's it, though, for the Raiders. I'm not going to the passing attack.
I don't think I am either. The absence, once again, of Jalen Carter, though, you just never know. You never know. Yeah, I think he had double shoulder surgery, so we'll see how that goes for him. So no Bowers for you, no Trey Tucker, none of those guys? Because I think Bowers is still somewhat viable today, but we're not getting any of them.
So that's if I get Bowers in some lineups, I will not reject it by any stretch, but I'm not actively targeting.
You're not going to force it. Okay,
No.
so no boost or anything there.
Nope.
I will probably boost Genty a little bit, but that's
Okay.
really the only one for me there. I think as a run back with Kenny Pickett, you may see some opportunities where he has like 6 receptions in this game, you know? And the Eagles have had some games where they've coughed up big receiving yard work to opposing running backs. Let's talk about Baltimore and Cincinnati. So the Ravens 2.5-point favorites. This is one of the wildest games to me because you look at this Ravens team, and the last time they faced Cincinnati was only a couple weeks ago on Thanksgiving. And the one thing that should stand out to anyone who watched that game is that, yeah, the Ravens were, I mean, you want to talk about dysfunctional. It was just bad overall. But there's another, like a couple different plays, and the Ravens have 40 points in that game, right? Isaiah Likely doesn't fumble at the goal line. Zay Flowers with the phantom offensive pass interference. Horrible pick by Lamar Jackson in the red zone into the end zone to Mark Andrews. There was another Zay Flowers fumble. Like there were so many instances where they were driving the ball, like moving the ball well, and then fumbling in the red zone or literally at the goal line or having negated touchdowns. So I'm not surprised they're 2.5-point favorites here. I think this game on both sides is interesting. It has a 50-point total we're talking about today. And while it's going to be cold, man, a 50-point total in a game that has a 12-degree temperature at kickoff is not something you see very often.
No, but this team, it's a divisional game. And typically with divisions, outside of teams, like when you're in a dome, you're used to this. Baltimore and Cincinnati have played a million times. Burrow and Lamar, they know what they're doing. It's just been a difficult team all year. And you mentioned it, most of it, if you want to spin it positively, has been self-destructing. It's not like they're inept. It's not like they can't move the ball. They fumble. Bad variance, a lot of it. Like, the likely play is you're talking about an inch or two when he's in the end zone, and it's a totally different game. A bad call here or there. But they have been underwhelming. The tight ends, this is great salary relief. I think you could play either of them. With Lamar, independently of Lamar. Then you have Zay Flowers, who's the obvious target on the outside. I don't mind Derrick Henry, but I also feel like on a slate with, we're talking about 13 different games, he's starting to fall down the list for me just by default. I still hope to get some because in these type of games, in these type of matchups, if it does exceed the total, the Ravens could have, 5 touchdowns to go around today? And who's to say that Henry doesn't take 2 or 3 of them? But it's still a very difficult offense to decipher. So for me, I'll have some Lamar, probably, Lamar and a tight end or Lamar and Zay. And then I hope to get some Derrick Henry. I don't see myself getting a full onslaught, but it is a good game and a good team to target.
So you already know I'm going back to Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews here. I don't see how you can't. I mean, look, I say this all the time. Am I a big DVP, like defense versus position guy for football? Not really. Do I think it's real? Do I think there's something here for Cincinnati against tight ends? Yeah, I do. I mean, they're 14 games through the season, 13, 14 games, whatever it is. And they've allowed 15 touchdowns to the position. No one else has allowed more than 9. They've allowed 1,258 yards to tight ends. No one else has allowed more than 900, Ben. 137 targets, 97 receptions this year. Like, no teams are even close. And I mean, this one is the most insane. 24 red zone targets to tight ends. No other team is above 14. Think about how insane that is. So, yeah, they've just been so awful against the tight ends that how do I not go back to Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews? I honestly don't even think Lamar doubles with Andrews and Likely is that crazy. Like, you're going to get a lot of double tight end builds today with some 2 cheap builds if you're using the Sims, and I'm okay with it because there aren't many great cheap receivers. And usually when you get like a 3K receiver or a 38, 4K receiver, that can free stuff up. There's not much of that today. There's no value at running back talking about the true like $4,400, $4,500 backup running backs getting a bell cow workload. So it's going to funnel you to some more of these double tight end lineups. And with that in mind, if you're playing Lamar, I don't think doubling Mark Andrews and likely is out of the question in a game like this at all.
No, not at all. And again, it's just the price points make it really appealing. Salary is going to be you're not starved for value, but a lot of it could come from the tight end position. And then other than that, it's the same old Ravens. I don't know if they'll get it together. The nice thing about a game like this, the Ravens do not have to win this game for them to be super, super viable for DFS. They can lose this game and still put up a lot of production for you. And I personally think they're going to win, but that's irrelevant to if you want to play them today.
You like him inside of a field goal here?
Yeah, I haven't bet it yet, but if I do, it'll be on the Baltimore side.
Yeah, I kind of like it too. But, this has been one of those very strange seasons where a lot of these games, it feels like Vegas is baiting you into the 2.5 because oddly enough, how many times have there just been these type of spots where it's a great bounce back spot and it feels like the sharp bet, which typically and historically has won, and then this year you go, God, they still lost. Like this team still sucks. It's been really hard to kind of evaluate which teams are for real this year. Really tough.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people, me included, kind of feel like there is no great team. The Ravens I still think they're one of the more talented teams in the league, and they're on the verge of not making the playoffs. You look at we don't need to go through that, but all these big time teams, as good as they seem, they're also in danger of not even being in the tournament. It's kind of crazy.
I mean, I genuinely want to see what a great offense does against Houston in the playoffs. Is Houston's defense so good right now that they can just win on the defense and score 18 points a game?
I mean, they seem to be trending that direction for sure, but
G3 Sports Card says, cause Lamar is hurt. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone believes he's at full strength. But again, if you look at that game on Thanksgiving, he still should have thrown for 3 touchdowns, and a bunch of those were not his fault. Cincinnati exposures here, running the Sims. I ran it on 10K, 15% the first here, Ben. A lot of Jamar Chase. There's no T. Higgins. Chase has been a Ravens killer over the years, which is, take that for what it's worth. I almost would have liked him more if T. Higgins was playing, honestly, but I still like him. The Mike Gesicki exposure, I'm a little bit surprised by that. And one of the few wide receivers that you can get to at a cheap price point is Mitchell Tinsley today. So there's a lot here. We're not going to the running backs. Makes sense. I mean, yes, Chase Brown had 2 touchdowns last game, but without those touchdowns, that's a wildly underwhelming performance. Samaje Perine is getting work, and I really just hate the idea of him being in there. He had 2 carries inside the 10 last week, only 7 total touches, but then you look at Chase Brown at $6,700. Yeah, he had 15 touches. He had 35 total yards, Ben. Without those touchdowns, if he only had 1 touchdown, that would have still been a horrible game for Chase Brown, right? So I'm fading the backfield. Again, if I get burnt by that, fine. This to me is a Jamar Chase as my number 1. Mitchell Tinsley is kind of a necessary evil in a lot of builds where you want to pay up. I'm fine with that. And then Mike Gesicki is perfectly fine as well at 3,300. But I don't know if I know I don't. And I'll just be on. I'll tell you guys where I'm at when I do build my lineups and make some adjustments. I don't think I'm going to end up getting to 40% Mike Gesicki because the tight end position to me has too many of these guys. I likely spread it around a little bit more.
Yeah, I would agree with that just because these are such high particularly at tight end, such a high variance position. If you score, that could be 60, 70% of the guy's total points on the day, that one play. Whereas, it's not as distributed with a receiver or something like that. So I don't want to put all my eggs in that basket, but Cincinnati's a great team to target. That unlike, and I guess Lamar is more like this lately because he probably is hurt, Burrow's not going to be running around. So if Burrow gets there, these pay down options and then Chase almost have to get there in some fashion. I just don't see a path where Burrow has a big game and they don't. So it's an easy team to stack. You have pay down options. This is more onslaught. You have the pay up wide receiver. You could take them all with Burrow. I don't think that's a crazy build at all, honestly.
Yep. And I want you to look at this before we move on to the next game. This is our tight end exposure. Look at the exposure that we have across the position. This isn't all of it either, but it's the most, relevant. What's that add up to in your head? That's a lot of 2 tight end lineups. A lot.
Yeah, I mean, just on the screen, you're looking at 60, 80, that's like 165-ish.
Right, and it keeps going down. I think it's probably like 3/4 of lineups with 2 tight end.
Yeah, and again, that just speaks to, you mentioned the necessary evil of Mitchell Tinsley. There's not that many of those guys. I think most people would agree. It's not that they love the play. It's that there's not that many options if you want to build like that.
We did have questions about Andre Iosivas. Do you have any thoughts there at 4,100 before we keep going here? I do think it's a spot we at the very least have to talk about for a second.
No, I mean, I think it is kind of what you think it is. He's not my preferred Bengal, but if you want it to be different with a Bengal stack, that's one of the ways to do it and still be somewhat reasonable. I don't think he'll be nearly as popular. I also don't think he's, as you can see, going to project as well.
Does not project great, has a 1.3% boom score. Floor and ceiling too on him. You look at this, there's just like the range of outcomes is not great at all on a guy like this. So yeah, that's probably why. If you're getting down to Tinsley, we have the same floor and ceiling on Mitchell Tinsley at a cheaper price point with a higher boom score. Mm-hmm. So that kind of tells you what you need to know. I understand why people would consider a spot like that, but I think it's just kind of paying down and saying both of these guys probably get a handful of targets, a couple targets. And if that's the case, go with the cheaper guy. All right, let's talk about this Buffalo and New England game. And by the way, stick around. Spags and Eric coming up after this. Make sure you guys are here for it. Even if you're listening or watching in the background, they'll have you covered on everything as you build your lineups. And we get the inactives report at 11:30 as well. Buffalo's a 1.5 point favorite. Again, it feels like, how do I not bet Buffalo here? But
I bet Buffalo.
Right. But it just feels like they won't. And when I say like Vegas is trying to lure you into, I don't mean, what I mean is that there's always these that's fishy type of games. And I think the 1.5 is the right number, but it's so tough, man, because betting against the Patriots in these type of spots this year has been a killer, right? They've pulled it off. That game in Tampa, I really like. We both liked Tampa, right? I did like the Patriots against the Bills earlier in the year in Buffalo. They ended up winning that game outright. I didn't see that coming. But that was also, if you remember, the Bills shot themselves in the foot all game long. A ton of costly, really poorly timed penalties. Could look a lot different. Buffalo's been a weird team, though. They have not, when you said earlier, you don't really know anything of, like, if there's one dominant team this year. Buffalo, I think, fits that mold as well, where they've had some purely dominant games, and then they've just had other games where it's like they lose to the Falcons, right? And they lose not only to Houston, but Allen gets sacked 8 times and they have 0 offensive production. They're an odd team, and I'm not really sure how to figure them out. What are you doing with them today? We are not getting to much of them in the Sims.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is part of it is the lack of value on the slate. The other part of it is that Josh Allen, it's been very difficult to stack him. And you don't have to. You absolutely do not have to. Every week, Red Zone interrupts with that stupid chart about him scoring a rushing touchdown and pass. We got it. He does that every week. I don't know why they show that every week.
What's even worse is Adam Schefter. I went on a rant about this the other day. I don't even know why I care. Every single week now for the past 5 weeks, Adam Schefter tweets that Lamar Jackson didn't practice on Wednesday and then returns on Thursday. No one cares. Why wouldn't you just only tweet if he didn't practice on Thursday? Very odd to me. I don't know why I care, but it bothers me.
Yeah. Well, the red zone thing bothers me.
That's what I'm saying.
We are giving a lot of credit to New England's been, talk about people not caring. I don't know why anyone would care about this. I hate New England in life, but I love this Patriots team because I love Drake May. So I really hope they play well today, and their defense has stood up, and that's probably partly why we're not getting a lot of James Cook love. It's a 48-point total, and it's a pseudo pick'em. I think that the Bills, and it's 2 big weapons. I think you want to force some of them in, and I will force some Josh Allen and some James Cook into lineups just by default.
Okay. So I think what you would be saying is this is a spot where we're not getting much, but you would be boosting these guys.
I will, yeah, if I have to force them into my lineups, I will, yes.
Okay. Avi with a super chat. Thanks, Avi. Good to see you, man. Is there any correlation with today's weather to touchdowns with, I see what you mean. I know you said it twice. Running back touchdowns or wide receiver. New England, Kansas City, Cincinnati, New York games. I want to target, but I think the elements play. See, I'm not too worried about the elements, honestly, man. There's no significant wind. I mentioned earlier the total in Baltimore and Cincinnati is still sitting at 50. So if that's at 50, what does that mean? New England and Buffalo are still at 49.5. I checked this morning. They're expecting around an inch of snow. There's no wind. It's 31 degrees. You want to talk about two teams that are perfectly, as Ben mentioned earlier, accustomed to playing in these type of conditions. The Bills play at Orchard Park, and the Patriots play in these type of games all the time. The Bears-Browns game, it's kind of whatever. That would have been a low total anyway. So, yeah, Chiefs is 41.5, but that's also because Herbert's got a bum hand and the Chiefs have a good defense and their offense hasn't worked. So I don't really see a single total in this spot, like the Giants game either. I don't see a single total that is being influenced by the weather, Ben.
No, I don't either. So I wouldn't worry about it. It's very hard to tell. We also had one more. I'll get this out of the way right here because appreciate this. From T. Willis, a super chat talking about FanDuel 4v4. I would rather have the Stafford side and just go Stafford onslaught. And I think that game could get out of control, especially if you have Jameson Williams and Devontae Adams already. So,
man, it's crazy how underweight we are to this game with a 49.5 point total. Part of me gets it, though, because if you want to go to the run game, which is where you get the Bills, which is where you've been able to punish them, what are you doing? Stevenson, Trevion Henderson, neither of whom are dirt cheap. It actually is a tougher game to get to than I would have thought, especially given some of the price points on these guys from both sides. But look, you kind of alluded to this. If there was one game with no ownership and a high total that you wanted to get overweight to be different in the event that it shoots out, it's not happening right now with our most recent Sims run. It feels like this would be the one. If there was a spot where you said, screw it, man, I'm going overweight to this. No one's playing this game. I need a piece of it. There's like no ownership on either side of this game.
Yep. And I think it is tough because I think a lot of New England's production is distributed in a way where none of these guys become pertinent to the slate, but they do produce. And that's just the nature of a backfield that has no clarity. And a receiving core that just has a lot of guys that I don't think are super playable, but aren't zeros. Guys that get 4 targets a game. And that's enough to chip away at someone like Diggs. So still a fascinating game. I think for me, my favorite plays in the game are the best players in the game, though. Like Allen, James Cook, those type of players.
The Giants, this is from Justin. The Giants game seems to be getting some weather attention. Do you think it makes Wan'Dale less viable in cash lineups? No. I mean, Wan'Dale Robinson has a 5-yard ADOT this year. So, no, if anything, it makes him, if you're worried about wind or something there, it'd probably make him more viable, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, he's an extension of the run game in some regards.
Yeah. Final thoughts on Buffalo, New England?
If New England wins this game, not that, they win the division, and we would put all my questions to rest if they're a serious contender in the AFC.
Definitely. Me too. You come in and win this game against not a desperate Bills team, but clearly a Bills team that needs to keep winning games.
Yeah.
It's a wrap. And then New England has the Baltimore Ravens next week. Buffalo has, I forget who they have, but then they do have the Eagles at some point too, which may just be an easy game. Who knows? Anyway, let's dive into Cleveland and Chicago. Before we do, though, shout out to all you guys who gave us some ratings and reviews in the Tails app. It was so cool the other day when you and me doing the show when we asked how many lurkers were in here? Just people kind of that watched. Was it not you? I thought it was on Sunday. There you go. Stephen Jones. See, Atone for My Sins left a rating and a review on Tails. Thank you, brother. I think it was last Sunday when we talked about, like, there's a lot of people that just kind of behind the scenes, watch the show, hang out, but they don't jump into chat. And then a ton of people jumped in and say, hey, we're lurkers. I know a lot of those people have been kind enough to leave the ratings and the reviews, and only do so if you enjoy the app, right? But I think a lot of you absolutely will. Ben and I post a ton of stuff here, all of it, from us, just ton of free content and from so many other people, right? So if you're not over on Tails yet, links in the description, follow me, follow Ben, it'll take you right to us. You have all of these bets every single day that you can simply jump in, grab the bets, and tail them with one click. Like you got Ben, I'm just going to give it up here, right? Anytime touchdown parlay. All right. So you got the anytime touchdown parlay. You profit boosted it to plus 927 here. Woody Marks, Kareem Hunt, Devin Singletary. Say I want to tail this. I click tail. I find the best odds. Boom. Click the sportsbook tail parlay. Loads it straight into my bet slip. Can't beat that, man. I got a bunch up already for today. So do you. And then you start talking about all of this, right? You can see within the leaderboards who's on a heater, who's, betting and hitting these long shots. If you're a lotto parlay, I have an insane lotto for this week.
I saw that.
Truly insane. But yeah, all of this stuff, man, you can dive into that, see who's getting the most followers recently. You say, all right, you know what? I want to jump in and follow these guys. I want to follow the people that are getting the most hype right now. You can see who's transparent, who tracks all the results, all of that. So come over if you're not there. If you haven't yet, hey, you create a free account. That's it, right? We're not asking, you don't have to put your credit card in or nothing. You just create a free account. Comments are open to the public now, so you guys can come in, jump in. We can take the conversation off of YouTube, off of Twitter, bring it straight into Tails, go back and forth on all of these bets, see where you guys are at as well. And yeah, within the app, if you love it, let us know. We appreciate you for sure. It's a giving season, right? So,
and the app's free. The app is free to download. It's the best experience. I use the app for everything. So if you're download the app, play around with it, and then you always can hit me and Lofty up and say, hey, I wish it had this, or I like that. Give us the feedback. The best thing about Tails, we're building it as a community together in real time.
Yeah, man. Cleveland's a big dog, 7.5-point dog. Shedeur Sanders coming off a decent game, 38-point total. Cold as shit out there at Soldier Field. Here's what I'd say. I'll keep it very simple. I do think Harold Fannin Jr. is fine today because David Njoku is out. I don't want the run game. I'm not going to Judy in a spot like this. This was a team that was pretty damn good last week, playing catch up somehow against the Titans, who were putting up 30-plus points in Cleveland, where the Browns' defense has been electric this year. One more reason this season may just be one giant psyop trying to drive all of us insane. Correct. But I'll go Harold Fannin, and that's pretty much it. I have no interest elsewhere. And even with Fannin, I'm basically just getting with the field, and I'm okay with that at 4K flat.
Yeah, you can move on for me. I'm not reaching for anything with Cleveland. There's no reason. I will have some Fanning as well, just because he's an athletic tight end, not a great position, and he should have the volume even in a disgusting game.
Bears defense is super opportunistic. Like we already know that turnovers, takeaways are to a large extent random. The one thing I'll say though, and I know you probably see it similarly, there's also something to be said about sometimes they're just random. I can't explain it. You ever notice sometimes it's just random in terms of across the entire season? Like there's just a team. The Eagles have done it before. I remember the Saints a handful of years ago had 1 million takeaways, and then the next year had like nothing. The Bears feel like that team this year where every opportunity, every tip ball, everything just falls into and I'm not saying they haven't made good plays too, but it just seems like every interception opportunity turns into an interception. They lead the league in interceptions with 18. They have 11 forced fumbles this year, which is top 10 in the league as well. And they have 7 recovered fumbles, which is top 10. They're just getting a ton of takeaways. The Bears defense, despite being expensive and despite there being a lot of really good defenses today, whether it's Seattle, Houston, Chicago, San Francisco, all priced up, Bears defense to me looks fine. I don't know if Rome Odunze plays. I'm still just really not interested in this offense. This is like Harold Fannin and Bears, and that's it for me.
Yeah, I really don't have much. Again, there's more. We've talked about a good amount of tight ends, if Rome doesn't play again, maybe like a Loveland as a, he did score last week, but you're reaching. And I actually like Caleb Williams stacks when they're like 1%. I just don't think this is the spot. Just too many things going against him. So yeah, this is a game where if this game beats me, more power to the people that went there.
Yep. Agreed. Similar take to how if I don't have much Jets and they end up going off like the Titans last week, it is what it is. But I think your point was more important than anything we've said, is that even when the Titans did go off last week, it kind of didn't really matter anyway, right?
It was not a big deal. It really wasn't.
Let's talk, and we will. Ben, can you just keep track of some of these super chats as well? Actually, they'll be in the favorites. We're good. Because I'll get to those in a second, but I don't want to break up the flow here. Arizona and Houston. All right. I think this is the game Jacoby Brissett comes back to earth, even in garbage time. If I'm wrong here, all right, fine. Anoint him who was it? Who was it with Allen Robinson and Hearns? Was it Bortles? Was it Bortles or
Bortles.
In Jacksonville?
Yeah, Bortles.
It was, right? Was it though?
I think we're good. They had Bortles. Like the year the Eagles won, they had Bortles.
I'm talking about the years where...
Was there a bridge between Bortles and Lawrence? I don't remember.
I think it was. It was 2015, because that's when you and I were out in California.
That was when the Jags played New England.
No.
And Gronkowski got concussed.
Was it?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. There was one year where they were just terribly bad. No, that was the year. 2015, different year. You're thinking, I think it was 2014 or 2016.
It all blends.
Hear me out. It was the Blake Bortles year where they lost almost every game, but Blake Bortles threw for almost 4,500 yards. Allen Robinson was amazing, and those guys were like garbage time heroes every single week. That's Jacoby Brissett and Michael Wilson and Trey McBride this year. This is a tough matchup, though. You're talking about a team in Arizona that is down there, their top and a very good left tackle in Paris Johnson. Their left guard, Evan Brown, remains out as well. They have no Marvin Harrison Jr., and now you're going up against Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter. You're going up against, in my opinion, the best defense in the league, the most insane pass rush, the only team that has more interceptions than passing touchdowns allowed. Derek Stingley, Petrie, like these guys are nasty. If Brissett figures it out today, so be it. Once again, a spot where on a 13-game slate, if I'm on the wrong side of this one, I simply don't think there was ever a way I was going to get there. That's just the honest to God truth.
Yeah, there's like anything, it's all balance. There was a part of me at some point this week that thought if everybody thinks this, then maybe you stick with something that's been.
I get it. I get it.
Like everyone says the same thing. Oh, the card, it's over now because they're playing. Well, maybe he just throws it 50 times again. The problem with this is that the prices, rightfully so, have incrementally crept up because of recent performance. And now they're at the premium in the worst possible spot. So you're paying the top against the worst matchup that you could have. And that is really, really difficult. I think Wilson's the most playable of the three at this point. Yeah,
he's also just good, I think. I think he's actually good, but we'll see. Joseph says, I'm still on Brissett. I'll take his 50 attempts and Wilson 16 targets. Yeah, look, I totally get that. The one thing that I don't think we can overlook, though, I don't know how much time Brissett's going to even have to throw the ball with that pass. Like, I really do think this could be – you're missing the whole left side of your offensive line against the Houston Texans in Houston. I don't think that can be overstated.
Yeah, obviously, like I said, the benefit if you play these guys, you're not asking for efficiency. You're asking for volume. Like, you're not going to get there on efficiency. You'll get there on volume potentially.
This is one of the spots I'll have my eye on more than anything else today to see if it all comes crashing down. 88 says brisket gonna cook. Look, maybe if you listen, this will be fun to revisit come Tuesday when we do the first look show. Because right now, you're not going to find me on much of this, and If you guys are doing it, Ben made the point. Even though they're a little bit more expensive, if you're going volume over efficiency in this spot, I do kind of understand it. I'm not doing it, but I understand it, and I don't fault a single one of you for it. So we'll see how it goes.
Godspeed.
Godspeed, sirs. Woody Marks, yep. No Nick Chubb, $5,600. I know he hasn't been efficient, but I keep going back to this throughout the week. Their schedule, Ben, has been truly terrible for running backs, right? Like, listen to this. Kansas City, that Kansas City defense was crazy good last week. It's just Houston's was better. You can't run on Kansas City. Indy has a pretty good run defense. Buffalo doesn't, but they prioritize throwing the ball with Davis Mills. I think that was all part of the game plan. And Woody Marks still averaged over 4.5. Tennessee's run defense is not bad. Jacksonville has a good run defense. Denver, San Francisco, Seattle. Those are all of their post-bye since week 7 matchups. So if there was ever a spot where you're going, hey, okay, Woody Marks, positive game script, gets it going, no Nick Chubb, coming off a 26-carry game. I understand he's chalky today, but very likely a spot where I eat the chalk.
Yeah, he's got a million ways to get there. As you saw, you brought it up earlier, I have him in the touchdown parlay. I think he's going to score. He can catch the ball. The volume.
I have him in one too, by the way.
Everything checks out, but he's going to be popular, and that's okay. One of my favorite plays on the slate, I think, being different, similar to Jacksonville, but even in a better, you could go to the passing attack here, and I don't think many people are going to do that. Maybe you go to a Stroud stack.
Yeah, or you could go like Marks Collins with no Stroud.
Or you could do it that way. That's very, very possible.
There's another game we'll talk about shortly where I like that a lot. We'll see if you can guess it, but there's another spot where I want to do that as well with another big favorite. Yeah, I don't hate Stroud here. I don't love him either, though. Arizona, though, this deep, you know what? That might not be true. This defense for Arizona has just given up.
They're awful.
Yeah, they're so bad. And I know the 3 games that they got destroyed were all divisional games, right? Like if you look at these, it was the Rams. They gave up 45. They gave up 41 to San Francisco, 44 to Seattle. But at the same time, man, like they're so bad. They're so bad in the secondary. I probably will get overweight to Houston today, both in stacks and with Woody Marks. The only question I have for you before we move on, and I like the Texans defense as well, by the way, because I think Brissett's going to force a lot here. You may see some pick 6 opportunities for a team that's second in the league in interceptions. The only question I have, would you go Stroud stacks with Woody Marks?
Yeah, I think you can absolutely do that. Similar to ETN in that sense, where he can coexist with the quarterback. It's a little different. And one thing Arizona has proven, that even though the Texans at times have not been a prolific offense, you can score 40 or 50 real life points on the Cardinals defense. Like they're that bad at times. Their worst performance wasn't any of the divisional performances. It was when they let Tennessee storm back after being down like 4 touchdowns instantly. They're just so bad that you can do a lot with Houston today.
So what's your favorite way to play this game then? I know you talked a bit about the Cardinals too, but what would your favorite way to be to play this game?
Oh, it'd be the traditional way of just taking Woody Marks. And then it would be some type of stack. But Woody Marks just and the defense, like a very popular traditional build.
Okay. For me, it's Marks. I do like Collins, though. I mean, this team has been bludgeoned through the air pretty much everywhere as well. And I do think I will get to some more Stroud. Look, the Mad Bowler, Stroud plus 3 stack ROI is pretty darn high. I get it. Matter of fact, it was only 1 year ago that the Stroud plus 3, so the Stroud triple, won the Millie. You remember that?
No, but Houston's that type of team where their secondary options are not super popular, and then if Nico has a game, you're there.
It was, what's his name? Something Gamer TV. He won it. The stochastic
Short
side.
Gamer?
What?
Short Gamer?
Short Gamer TV with the Sims. Won it with the Stroud triple. Yeah. Last year or the year before. But yeah, I think it's viable. Stroud triples would have looked decent against Baltimore earlier this year as well. So, yep. Bama Metal G. I get it. I get the target share and the volume for Michael Wilson. I do. I just also think that this is one of those matchups where when you're missing the left side of your offensive line and your best offensive lineman against this Houston pass rush, I'm not sure how much it matters. We're going to find out, though. I'm more than open to be wrong. You guys know where to find me every single day. Washington, New York Giants. Crazy thing about this game, dude. It's a 46.5 point total. There is not a single player in this game above 5,900.
Yeah. Then again, that's where bad teams don't mean bad. We've had that talk a lot. Like, bad teams can still yield a ton of production.
So with that in mind, I like Jackson Dart. I like Wandale. I like Theo. I like McLaurin, and I like Marcus Mariota. I'll even have some interest in Curtis or Deebo Samuel, but I do worry a little bit about him dealing with that illness.
Mm-hmm.
He's expected to play. We'll see where we come in on him, but this is just kind of one of those games, to me at least, that feels unavoidable. You're just going to get to some of this game. I'm not sure how you don't, and I'll throw our exposures up on the screen for you guys right now. Looking at this Washington side, getting some McLaurin, still getting 10% Mariota. That's not nothing. One thing to keep close watch on, we'll know in less than 30 minutes. Does Chris Rodriguez Jr. play? If not, you may be forced into a spot where you have to play some JCM as well. I'm not saying you have to, but he may open up some value at the position against this Giants team because he's $4,400. Has he been good? Nope, not at all. But a $4,400 running back, if Chris Rodriguez is out, probably ends up being viable, especially given that Jeremy McNichols, they've used him at times, but he's coming off a game last week where he did not have a single carry on the ground.
Yeah, again, you don't have many opportunities to grab running backs in that price range. It changes the complexity of the build. So Washington is a team that I never like, but McLaurin makes a lot of sense today. And yeah, maybe some of the secondary options, Mariota or McCarthy, and we do have a handful of. We can hit all the super chats at once. How about we just do that after this game?
By the way, it seems like Arizona, based on the chat, feels like Arizona may actually have decent
some ownership.
Yeah, everybody, like I'm on an island, it seems, with this Arizona take. Very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that makes it easier for me. If Arizona's popular today, I don't care if they go for 200 points. I will not regret it. If they're 1% and they have a game, I'll be potentially irked that I didn't take a flyer. But
you want to hit those real quick?
Sure. Okay, how do I get all? Okay, here we go.
If you go to Starred, they're all
yeah. I'm just trying to. Where did we leave off?
Here, I can help you out here. All right, so.
Oh, it's the other way. I got it. These were all Greg's. I'm like, I don't remember any of these. All right, here we go. Ready? Super chat time. Jordan, top two for a quarterback, no stack. Allen, Hurts, May, or Dart. It would be Allen or Hurts for me.
Allen or Dart for me.
Okay.
I like the Hurts, but I like the Hurts stacks today because his pass catchers are cheap.
Avi asked this is for your question: if the Eagles, Shipley or Bigsby, if the Eagles are up 20.5.
No.
Yeah, I mean, don't play them, but
I'm not trying to play a guy for a quarter of football. I don't want to do that. Eagles are in no position right now to dick around either.
That's extremely true. Favorite low-owned stack for tournaments? I think we probably both say the Eagles potentially. I like Carolina as a very against the grain stack.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have some interest in Buffalo a little bit too, right?
I don't know if it's going to be a stack though.
For me, Philly, but find a spot that to you stands out as low owned that you think could pop off. And yeah, for me, it's Philly.
Jay asked, Mariota or JJ McCarthy in season long? I don't play season long, but I think I would play Mariota.
I think I probably would too. Dallas at home here, big must-win game for them. Their defense still stinks, don't get me wrong, but so does the Giants.
Banks. Lavi, let the people know you have 30 days to claim the Hall of Fame Sims win.
Okay, yeah, if you make the Hall of Fame, you have 30 days. It's all there. It's on the page.
It's in the
but Banks, shoot me a DM over on Twitter. I'll get you taken care of. But I probably not today. Like I got a bunch of stuff, but I will tomorrow. Just shoot me a DM and I'll get to it.
Yeah, he's a man of the people. Brandon Wagner said, Sims are giving me 0 James Cook. What about you guys? Seems like a spot to get a little. Yeah, I'm not getting a lot, which is where I'm going to have to manually boost some of the Bills, particularly James Cook, if I decide that I want to get to him. And I'm leaning towards having some exposure. Yeah.
I really like the running back position today. I'm not sure how much I get, but James Cook always makes for like the best low-owned leverage play. We've seen that win millies multiple times over the past couple of years, so I totally get it.
And the last one, FanDuel GPP, ETN Andrews and Likely, I wouldn't play Andrews and Likely together in the same lineup personally.
I would with Lamar, not without Lamar.
That's fair, but I would rather have the other side anyway, personally.
Harvey, Walker, and Likely. Yeah, I would too. Actually, I know I would in that spot. But like I said, Lamar doubles to me is not crazy at all if you wanted to do that. Having them together without Lamar seems like you're reaching for sure. Anyway, I'll just give you my thoughts on Washington and New York. I'm waiting on the Rodriguez news. I want to see what the projection update looks like once we get that, because it's going to be – I do think it'll be somewhat meaningful if Rodriguez doesn't play, because Krosky Merritt at 4,400 in a good spot with a decent total in a game spread under or inside a field goal makes a lot of sense. And then on the other side, yeah, Theo Johnson's 3,500. Jackson Dart will target him. He'll look his way in goal-to-go situations. Dart, I do believe he's still going to run a bit more. He's got a rushing prop up around 30. I know they had no design runs for him last week, but this Washington defense has given up. Wandale, no problems there. Mostly Dart, Theo, Terry McLaurin, and Mariota would be my top guys. There's something about a team like Washington, Ben, where other teams go into a season and they're just expected to be bad, and then they're actually kind of dangerous at the end of the year because they're playing spoiler and there's nothing, there's nothing to play for, but there wasn't really anything to play for all year. I also think Washington's the opposite, where they're coming off of an NFC championship game and their season just went down the shitter very quickly this year. So a team with such huge aspirations coming into the season, like, man, we might get to the Super Bowl, only to find themselves way on the outside looking in. Feels like those teams are a lot less dangerous as far as defense goes. And that's why I do like the Giants today at home.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly agree with that. And this is a good game. You mentioned Dart still has some rushing upside, Theo Johnson, Wandale. I'm not going to mess around with the backfield on the DFS side. I think there's some utility in betting and call it a day. I also am playing the Giants defense.
All right. Kyle, are we sleeping on a 5K Singletary? It's just tough because it's Tracy and it's Singletary. One of those guys could have a game, but you look at all those other 5K running backs today, and I think it does become a little tougher to get to these timeshare backs, even though they're in good matchups. That's my answer. If you think there's something there, you like that Singletary's been getting some goal line work, I totally understand it. I don't know about you, Ben, but it seems like a tough spot just because there is a legitimate timeshare in that game, on that backfield.
I put him in my touchdown parlay. That was kind of my, I don't want to say hedge, but I like it more there.
More so your way to get some exposure without it being through DFS lineups.
Yeah, my thought on it was that's not the whole reason, of course, that I bet something, but to me, if Singletary scores, I win. I literally, the bet is binary. I win. If he scores, he has a decent chance to be valuable, but not guaranteed. If he does not score, there is no chance that he's valuable in DFS.
Yep.
So
I hear you. I'm not getting to the Chargers today, by the way. They're 5.5-point dogs. That doesn't bother me. Herbert's hand, I mean, his rushing upside last week was phenomenal. Like, he took that game into his own hands. It was great. But with Hampton and Vidal in that backfield against a very good run defense, a good defense all around for the Kansas City Chiefs, and clearly Justin Herbert's offensive line being unable to protect him. Vic Fangio never brings blitzes. He brought a ton in that game, just saying, look, these guys can't stop our rushers. They didn't even have Jalen Carter, and they still got home a ton. You have a great defense in Kansas City. I'm not here. I don't know if Trent McDuffie is going to play, but if he does, that makes it even more so that I don't want them. I'm just not on the Chargers today.
No, again, you said this earlier. It's not even that it was overshadowed. the Chiefs defense in the second half played legitimately flawless.
It was
and
insane.
They just couldn't do anything because Houston's defense was equally up to the task. So the Chargers, I think they're getting more out of less than maybe any team in the league right now. They have Herbert, I don't know how he's making it through. It's not a good situation, though. 5.5 point road dogs, 41 point total. That's a no for me.
Alan Lafayette, I tailed your touchdown bet on tails. Do we feel good about it? Well, I don't know, Alan. It's a plus 26,000. So you tell me. In all likelihood, that's not going to win. But every single week we do the Sunday prayer. You got to throw one lotto out there because if it ever does, Ben, that's all that matters. Do I feel good about it? I mean, I like those guys today. I think it's a fun one. Yeah, but I wouldn't mortgage the house or the farm on it.
Another Alan said he signed up with Onyx using our link, sent 2 to 3 emails. Support at Stochastic. I promise you will hear back.
You will.
Yeah.
As you know, we had some issues throughout the week as far as the site is concerned.
Yeah.
So,
I'm assuming he said in October, so I'm assuming.
Oh, well, if that's the case, then
yeah, just resend an email and they will take care of it.
Check your spam because Ron's really good about that.
Yeah, he's the best.
Goody. There we go with the timely super chat etiquette. Appreciate you as always, brother. Aside from the cold, McConkey and Rice gone on their own, both in a must-win game. Sims hate Herbert. Any interest in Herbert with McConkey and Rice run back? Herbert had 31 points week 1. Yeah, but he also has the hand. I think that game was uniquely situated for them to play really well. It was out there in Brazil. I remember liking the Chargers in that game a lot. Like get off the schneid against Kansas City. Chiefs with the Super Bowl hangover in their first game. I do think this is a lot different. This is in Arrowhead. You know the Chiefs can be eliminated from playoff contention today. And the path is not all that crazy. If the Bills win and the Chiefs lose, and then 2 others, I think the Jags win, and then there's 1 other spot, 2 big favorites, the Chiefs are out. So if anything, Goody, and I'll flip this over to the Kansas City side, the low ownership on Rashee Rice. And I know people are going to be like, yeah, but the Chargers don't give up production to wide receivers. I mean, they did to A.J. Brown, and he dropped 2 passes. One would have been a touchdown. Rashee Rice is the guy that I would not mind getting over on this week. I'm fascinated by Rashee Rice at 4% ownership. It's really the only play from this game that I like.
I like Kansas City stacks.
You do? Okay, let's talk about it.
Again, let's clarify it. I like them in relation to how much the field likes them, which is not a lot at all. I still think there's potential weapons there. They're staring everyone on the screen. You have Rice. He's going to be catching a ton of short passes. You have Mahomes, and although it never seems to work, Xavier Worthy has 2 or 3 or 4 chances to bust one every game. And some of them he's catching, he's just not scoring. Like he's had multiple 30-yard passes in some of these games, and it's just not fully connecting. I still like the makeup of this. It's not overly expensive, and it's not popular whatsoever.
Okay. Will it be one of your highest owned or just get above the field?
Definitely not. But if I have 15% Mahomes or 20% Mahomes, that's like a massive leverage.
Way over the
field.
I do see where you're going with this. If there's ever a time to get on Kansas City, it's when nobody wants to play Kansas City. Yeah. The Mad Bowler, loving the new setup with the Sims tool. Some of the new functionality you guys have added with the groups, for example, give me the feels of the old Fantasy Cruncher functionality that I love. Yeah, man. The groups, if you haven't checked that out yet, you definitely should. I think you'll love it. It's going to make building lineups for you guys a lot easier, a lot more customization too. I know people have asked for that. We're doing everything we can to make these tools as good as we can for you guys. Not only that, but we've added all of the boom bust features and a whole lot more that are coming in the coming days to this tool. So within the data hub over here, you'll be able to find all of this stuff all in one place, including the projected stats for all of these players to make it so you guys don't have to go into those old, not great looking pages to find all of that. It's all within the exact same hub, which hopefully you guys enjoyed. Anything else from this game?
No, I'll say that the Chiefs stay alive. I don't know if they're going to make it, but I'll say that they stay alive.
Okay. Tennessee, San Francisco. All right. Well, I don't know, dude. You do what you want with Tennessee. I'm not reading in too much from honestly, if I were to bet this game, I'd probably still bet the Niners, even as 12.5-point favorites. I'm not getting the Tennessee today.
No, definitely not. Get them off the screen.
San Francisco, yes. McCaffrey dealing with a bit of an injury, but they said he's going to be good to go. Now I do wonder, do they use more Brian Robinson in a game if they go up early? We said earlier in the week they can't really afford to do that in a really competitive NFC South, a really competitive NFC where, they could finish the season with a phenomenal record and still be the 7th seed. But do you worry at all about Christian McCaffrey's workload today?
Yeah, I do, because the difference between this and some of the other situations is that he's $9,000.
Yeah.
And so it's not like, oh, they're not going to give him the ball. They definitely will, and he'll be active and he'll be busy. But if they're up 14 late, not 60, if they're up 14 late or 17 late, I could see them gearing him down a little bit. And you need every last carry when you're trying to pay off that. So it's not like, oh, I can't play McCaffrey, but I do think he's at risk for that verse. You have to do an opportunity cost. Jahmyr Gibbs is not coming off the field, whether they're up 40 or down 4. Like, there are other guys in these price points that there are no concerns with that. So it's just a data point, and I do think it factors in.
How are you playing the Niners then?
Honestly, not anything special. I'm not getting to the stack. I think it's just going to be peppering these guys in lineups. You have Kittle. I think he's fine. Honestly, I am indifferent to the team, and I don't want people to take that as a negative. I am fine with the Niners. I don't love them. I don't hate them. I don't want them to define the slate. So I'll get some Kittle. I'll get some McCaffrey. I guess I could get some Purdy, but he's not a priority.
So a couple of interesting points, by the way, brought up in chat about Brian Robinson is that he does not have rushing props, but I'm looking now and I do see rushing props still at 29.5. So I just looked it up. FanDuel, DraftKings, Onyx, which is the same odds, they do have Brian Robinson up there. I was going to say if there's no props, then that's a little bit concerning to me. But it is. Christian McCaffrey's at 61 rushing yards, though. That right there on FanDuel, Ben, 61?
That's concerning.
61 on FanDuel? No way. But still 111.5 on DraftKings rushing plus receiving. So yeah. I don't know. I kind of agree with Ghetto Farmer Boy when he says, as a 49ers fan, I've learned that Shanahan, if he puts them out there, treats them like they're 100%. That kind of has been the case with McCaffrey over the years, right? Where he either plays or he doesn't play. We'll see. But yeah, that is a little bit strange to see him at 61. Although McCaffrey's rushing upside this year hasn't really been the driver behind his crazy big production. I'll still get to some. 9K, pretty much with the field. That's where I'm okay with. Last question on San Francisco for you. Do you want to get 2x the field on Kittle today? Because that's pretty interesting given how spread out the tight end position is and how many good cheap options there are too.
2x the field might be a little much. Important player, but not. No, I would say I don't come in 2x the field.
Indy and Seattle. All right. Well, Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, there it is. That's what I want to do.
It's insane, though, isn't it? That this is actually happening.
Yeah, I wish we had more time so I could rant a little. But
I mean, look, we're getting a little Colts defense, and I promise you that's not because they're projected well. It's just because defense is random. But even 7% Colts defense, I don't feel good about. You know, Travarius Ward is out again with his third concussion of the season. Sauce Gardner's out. Could be a long day for them, man. I think they try to force feed Jonathan Taylor early, but Seattle knows that. I'm off of the Colts.
Yeah, no, there would be no reason to play the Colts. My only comment is I'm just really surprised that that's the best option.
Hold your nose, my friends. Listen, if this were a show where we didn't have 13 games and had more time to talk about Phillip Rivers, we would.
I mean, tune in Tuesday because there's a very high chance that someone on the Colts is going to be the goblin of the week. So Tuesday
I won't blame Phillip Rivers for it. I'll I'll blame them for signing him and starting him, Or who knows? Maybe he's the anti-Goblin of the week and he shocks the world. Seems highly unlikely. Listen, Ben, JSN today, someone told me you can't play JSN or good receivers when they're big favorites. Like, that's not true. We saw what he did against Tennessee and they blew them out. Don't tell me they won by 6. There was straight garbage time at the end of that game. He's had plenty of big games in blowouts, and then he's had a couple not great games in blowouts, but last week was technically a blowout. The final score is misleading in so many of these spots. Even though the final score there but it was tied at halftime, like 3-3 or 6-3 or whatever. But Kenneth Walker, you guys are going to be grossed out by this. Totally understand it. I'm not telling you to play him. I'm just simply telling you that I likely will have some Kenneth Walker today. He has a 76.5 yard rushing plus receiving, Ben. He's at right now 59.5 yards rushing, 14.5 rushing attempts, and his total touchdown prop is currently at minus 110 on FanDuel. No one's going to want to do it. I get it. He's burned us so often this season. You really haven't had any incredible Kenneth Walker games. And Zach Charbonnet constantly lurks and destroys our lives every single Sunday. But I just given those numbers, given the spread, I still have some interest in Kenneth Walker today. And if Seattle runs into some short field scenarios, it may be a Kenneth Walker day. So we'll see. I get it. I see why you wouldn't want to play him. I'm not tamping down exposure, but if you want to, you can always go in and set an exposure cap or negatively boost Kenneth Walker within the Sims.
Yeah. Again, it's not going to feel like, the most comfortable play. You mentioned there are certainly red flags, but there's still a lot of positive data points too, mostly that they're a 14-point favorite at home. They could have short fields and there could be touchdowns to go around. So Seattle has shown the ability to absolutely devastate teams. And when they do, they can employ a ground heavy attack at times, particularly late. I mean, I don't know how willing of a dance partner Indy. I bet the under in this game. I'll tell you that much, because I think that Indy's strategy here should be to try to salt the game away and just lean on Jonathan Taylor, chew up clock, and just get to the fourth quarter. Because if the game, there's no possible way they can win in a shootout.
Zero. Like,
to me, Seattle and the alt overs are correlated even more than normal in a game like this.
Well, yeah. And also, if you just want one more example of this, what you're saying, how often do you see a team as a 14-point dog and their running back has a 20.5 rushing attempt prop?
Yep. They can't abandon. There's no scenario where the Colts abandon the run.
No, like you would want to in a game like this, but you can't. Seriously.
No, you can't.
Don't you think it's pretty unique that a running back has a 20.5 rushing attempt prop as a 2-touchdown road dog?
Yeah, I mean, this is truly a unique situation.
Yes. This is why football is fun and ridiculous and stupid at the same time. I like Barner. I mentioned to you earlier in this show, there is one spot where I'm willing to go running back, wide receiver, no quarterback. To me, the JSN Kenneth Walker spot just makes sense. Like, I'm gonna have some of that because Kenneth Walker is only $5,600. JSN's expensive, and I know Sam Darnold isn't. So naturally, you'd be funneled into just playing Darnold in a lot of these spots. I could see this being one of those games, though, where JSN single-handedly does most of the damage in the passing game, as has been the case most of this year, and Kenneth Walker gets some opportunities. So, yeah, that's probably a spot I'm looking at.
Yeah, and I think Seattle obviously is a team that you have to consider, but they don't have kind of one path. They should play from ahead, and with that comes opportunities for their big weapons.
Yep, pretty much. Anything else in this one?
No.
All right, let's go Carolina, New Orleans. Well, Carolina, last time they faced the Saints in Carolina, kind of got embarrassed. It was like a 17-10 game. They lost that. They're coming off of a bye. They're getting healthy. I kind of like Carolina in this game from a betting perspective. As a matter of fact, I posted this one to tails already earlier in the week. Some of you guys may have tailed that. If not, turn on notifications. If you're following, say, me and Ben, You'll get notifications popped up as soon as those bets come out. One tap on the app, tail those, put them right into your bet slip. So like Ben has a 3-leg parlay today, the touchdown parlay we talked about. If you one tap that in the app and then just figure out where you want to bet it, you don't have to go and find all 3 of those legs. So you don't have to go transcribe that back into the app. All you actually have to do is click a button or tap it if you're downloaded the app already, which you certainly should have. And it's in there. Like it loads it straight into your bet. To me, that's the best part about all of it.
100%. I don't have time to be finding the line, making sure I got the best price. You're betting on the go a lot. And so it's just boom, you get a little notification, you click it and you're in. And then later in the day, you get the same line as the person that you're tailing, which is something that's always super valuable because there's nothing worse when it's like, oh, I went to tail you and I lost and you won. And it's like, well, when did you bet it? It's like, oh, I bet it and I didn't shop it because I didn't have time. That we took that all out. This is you're in 1 second.
Yep. So here, tail parlay, boom, we're in. Loaded straight. And on the app, it's the best. Like if you're doing it in the app, it'll just pop up your FanDuel app and load it straight in. You can't beat that. But as far as the Panthers go today, I was talking betting just because it is a spot that I touched on and I bet earlier in the week. They're healthy now. You get some reinforcements, right? Your starting center, Cade Mays, is back. J.C. Horn is back. Morrig is back. They were missing a lot of guys on both sides of the field. I don't love them for DFS because Hubbard's workload has been up there, and now he's splitting with Rico Dowdle, or at least that was the case in that game against the Rams, although who knows, man? That was a strange game where you got to go with what's working when you're a double-digit dog and you win outright. McMillan's fine to me, though, at 6K. If there's one guy I want to get to, and we don't have much of him, I still like Teteroa and McMillan, just knowing that he won. Who was it? Was it Morgan that won the Millie or Deepak that won the Millie with Teteroa and McMillan at 3% ownership the other week?
Yeah, I think it was Morgan. But
I think it was Deepak. No, maybe it was Deepak.
Yeah, I mean, again, McMillan has shown this year that he's factored into a lot of slates. Honestly,
do you like this spot at all? Anyone from this game?
So this is the other team that I mentioned. I think if you want like a complete off the wall Millie type stack, I don't mind taking a shot with the Panthers stack. You have 2 receivers that fit nicely. I respect the Saints defense, but Carolina has shown all year they're kind of all over the place. They look great. They look terrible. The range of outcomes is huge. You don't need to allocate a lot. So I don't love anything on the Panthers, but I didn't rule them out by any stretch. I'm going to take some shots.
Trump gets the strap. 13 game slate. How many uniques you guys thinking? It's a personal preference. I mean, you could run as many uniques until you get to a negative simmed ROI. It just depends how spread out you want your exposures to be. If you want to take very specific stands and centralize exposure around a few guys, then yeah, you'd have less uniques. It really is just a preference thing, Ben.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the only real answer is just know what you're doing, in the sense of if you go with less uniques, your results are going to be, it's a kind of all or nothing situation, for lack of that's probably too extreme, but you get the concept.
I like Devin Neal here.
He's pretty good, actually.
Yeah. And even if he wasn't, it's a volume thing, right? It's just a volume thing to me with Devin Neal. We're getting 2x the field on him. He hasn't been targeted much in the last couple of games, but I think that's liable to change at any given time as long as he's on the field. Really, all I care about is will he be on the field? And he is getting the lion's share of snaps and touches over guys like Audric Estime. So, yeah, you know what? $5,300, no issues. I actually think at 8% ownership at home in what should be a competitive game, at least if it plays to the spread, the workload should be there, and that's kind of all I care about here. I'll get trace amounts of guys like Chris Olave, Juwan Johnson, maybe a little bit of Tyler Shuck, but Shuck looked better to me last week. Devin Neal is my favorite guy from the Saints today. Yeah,
and again, you mentioned, the Saints, they're similar to Carolina in a lot of ways. They're not a great team, but they've got some players, and a guy like Devin Neal, he fits what a team like that would want to do anyway. You know, it's like they should be featuring him. Why wouldn't you?
Right.
You know,
What do you have to lose?
what do you have to lose? You're learning something that could be somewhat useful in the future. Other than that, you've got the usual suspects on the outside. Tyler Sugar has shown that he's mobile, so that always gives you kind of an extra out. And he's another quarterback that I don't think you want to build around, but if you're building a lot of teams, I would venture to say he will be in the pool for a lot of people.
I agree. Yeah. Let's keep it moving then, unless there's anything else from this one.
No, I don't know what to make of Carolina. More from the betting side. They're a really tough team to decipher. Like, they could win the South.
Definitely.
That's
after
crazy.
That loss from the Bucs, absolutely.
I don't know, man.
Green Bay, Denver. What do you make of this game? Because I can tell you, for me, first of all, low total. Josh Jacobs is expected to play, but he talked about it in the locker room to the media, and he's like, yeah, it hurts. It does. It stiffens up. It hurts. I'm just doing what I can. I think they're probably going to still run him out. I mean, you have to. I was a little surprised to see the Packers favored in this game, but when you consider how many games the Broncos, they've won like 10 straight. So many of these games are in one possession games, final drive, game winning. That eventually isn't going to last, but I don't like the Packers offense in this game. And once again, on a 13-game slate, if I get burned by this, so be it. It's still a good Denver defense. Really good Denver defense.
Yeah, really good Denver defense. This is a great real life game. I'm not sure it's a great DFS game though.
Well, we're not getting really any exposure here, and I guess the question I'd have to you and you guys in chat as well is just, if you were to boost guys in this game, like say the Sims results you were getting weren't what you wanted and you wanted to get more, where would it be? Because like Sutton's price is down, but this is just such a good defense and secondary for Green Bay as well. A very good pass rush on both sides. Like, do you boost RJ Harvey at 6K? Maybe that would be the spot if you tried to get different. His workload did come up considerably last week, but all in all, Ben, this is a game that I don't think I'll have much exposure to. Although, as you mentioned, I look forward to watching it.
Yeah, it's a tough ask for these teams, because again, this level of competition is quite high in this game, and I was all over it. There was one of the things I really liked RJ Harvey last week. That was one of the better things that I did.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to take those dividends and cash out.
Reinvest them elsewhere.
I don't think I want to push it to the limit here.
Not rolling them back into Harvey. I get it.
Not there. Sutton as a one-off is fine. He's an alpha on the outside, but
and we're getting a little of him. We're getting with the field. That's fine.
It's one of these games where it's just a lot of respect everywhere. I respect Sutton, but I respect the Packers, and that's why it's strength on strength.
Dazed says, I could see this game going either way. Packers have too many weapons to choose from, too spread out, but I do have a little Watson. Yeah. And again, you're right. It's true. They do have so many weapons. And then when you're trying to target that against the good defense, it just gets more complicated and harder. You're trying to hit a moving target, multiple moving targets at once. That's tough. Are inactives out? Do we have inactives? Let's see. All right. Actives: Rome Odunze, Parker Washington, Demercado, Palmer, Tillman, Debo. Chris Rodriguez is out. Nick Chubb is out, Ben. So there you go. Quentin Johnston is out, and Rashad Bateman is also out. So actually, a couple spots there that are significant. And
yeah,
go ahead.
It gives us, and I can't wait to see what the fellas right after us have to say about this, because it does give us some additional options for value, particularly at some spots like running back where you're not used to having an abundance of pay down options. So
JCM, he's going to be somewhat viable in this matchup.
Yeah, that's going to change the complexion of the slate somewhat. I don't think it alters. Like I said, these are not guys where it's like, well, got to start from scratch because I need JCM in all lineups or like, no, definitely not. But it's, yeah. And now we got this just absurd game.
This game is really tough, man. And I actually think it's tougher on the Detroit side. I really do. They're 6-point dogs and they're playing in a dome. This game has a high total. And the question is just like, all right, well, how do I get to these guys on this slate? The Rams defense is good, but the Rams, if they push the tempo of this game and they force Jared Goff on the other side to have to throw a ton, I don't care if he gets picked off. I don't care if he's under pressure. It's kind of similar to what some people are saying earlier about Brissett with Michael Wilson and everything, except I think this to a lesser extent. Lesser extent of the matchup being as tough, right? The St. Brown spot, man. No one. I'm a little surprised he's getting 15. I thought he'd actually be lower than that, given that there's Puka Nacua, JSN, Jamar Chase, all in far more favorable spots. But that's not the case. 15% going to Amon-Ra St. Brown. He looked fine coming off the ankle, and I like him. Gibbs is a tough guy to get to at 8,800, not because he isn't incredible and because David Montgomery seems in large part games like this to be kind of phased out, and they typically use him more when they're playing with a lead. But 8,800 is a tough price point on him, and we're still getting more than 2x McCaffrey over Jahmyr Gibbs. So how are you doing it with the Detroit Lions?
Yeah, it is really tricky because if you're not going to the stack, and I'm not really planning to do that, you're taking expensive one-offs that are in crazy opportunity cost positions. So, I mean, if you get to Stafford, it would probably be pick one of these as your bring back. But if you don't, I'm not honestly sure what I'm going to do. I think my strategy with the Lions, honestly, is don't do anything and just see what happens. I'm not going to manually boost these guys.
Just hold on, just so everyone knows what you mean by don't do anything. You're not saying not to play them. You're saying
not at all.
You're saying factory settings, leave it as is, and just take what you get.
Yeah, and if I get around the field plus or minus some, it looks like we're shorting some of these guys a little bit, I'm okay with that. I don't have a great read on what they're doing. And to me, it's okay to say that. It's okay to say, like, I have no great insight here, so I will go factory settings. I'm not going to get 0. That would be my guess. I'm not going to be jamming them. And yeah, you're never going to go wrong playing Gibbs or St. Brown, but you just can't play them without having to make concessions elsewhere.
I think our boy SC made a great point here in saying that the problem is the pricing in this game is adequate.
That's right. It's efficient. Yeah.
It's efficient would be the better word, but I know exactly what you're saying, SC. And I'm not a dick like Ben that corrects people for using the wrong words.
Clever.
But no, hey, I knew what you meant, SC. I didn't have to clarify it. But you're right. It is efficient pricing. And
it's adequate.
That was
you're like, oh yeah, I agree with him, and then you switch the word real good.
I did that on purpose.
Yeah.
But on the Ram side, though, if you're looking at Nacua, I still think he looks great today. You know how I feel about Devontae Adams. Whenever I get burned by Devontae Adams, I can live with it. It's just I think Devontae Adams at that price point is hard to get to. We have 13%. I'll do exactly what Ben said. I'm going to leave it as it is. 7,200 isn't super crazy. It's not cheap. I don't want to boost him. If I'm getting with the field on Adams, I'd be thrilled to be exactly where I am. Mm-hmm. Over the field on Nacua, getting some Kobe Parkinson. Game has a 54.5 point total and 16% Stafford. My guess, Ben, is the majority of our Adams lineups are Stafford doubles with Nacua or with Parkinson. But I bet almost all of the Staffords are Nacua Parkinson or Nacua Adams, and very few of them are Adams Parkinson, if any.
I would agree with that. And yeah, listen, the Rams have been high powered and we've seen the touchdown equity, but it takes more than that. There'll be plenty to go around in this game. So I'm not breaking any news with it's not the backfield. It's just not the backfield for me. Everything else fair game.
All right. Tom, Laffy being politically correct. About what?
Yeah.
About
Okay.
what? I don't know. Spags is waiting to come into the show. He's always accused me of being politically correct. So, but nah, man, we've had a good show. Sorry, we try and get through these games as quick as we can. I think we did a pretty good job. We'll leave it on this. Anything we've missed, anything in this game that we haven't touched on. I know Spags and Eric over the next hour and 20 minutes will cover anything we missed, but anything we haven't touched on that you want to get off your chest before we say goodbye for the morning?
No, as always, like I said, appreciate you guys. A lot of action today, both on DFS and betting. So I'll see you over on Tails. I hope to see you on the top of the leaderboards. And let's see if we can add one or two more before the season closes to the stochastic Millie Maker family.
Yeah, man. You guys are the best. Stick around. Eric and Spags coming up next. Have a great rest of the weekend. Ben and I will see you back here Tuesday for the First Look show. And remember, we're going to have plenty more bets popping up on Tails today. Link down below. Give us a follow. Download that app. And, if you're feeling in the Christmas spirit, 5-star rating, maybe a review along the way. Today, you're sitting on your couch watching football. You shoveled snow already. You say, you know what? I'll do it. I got 2 minutes of time. Let me hit them with a review. And we'll say we appreciate it. Anyway, stick around. These guys coming up next. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Oh, we're just going right into it. That's how we're handling things these days. Hello, everybody. I'm Eric Lindquist. Welcome to NFL Live Before Lock. You can follow me over at Eric Lindquist over on X, at Lindy over on Tails. I'm joined, as I always am, this genius of a man over there, Chris Spags. Go follow him at Chris Spags. Go follow the Splash Play podcast while you're at it too, my guys. Yeah. How you doing?
Now that the woke mind virus that is Laffy is finally gone, that politically correct. So no, glad to be here. It should be a fun slate. Unfortunately, it seems like we got to rerun some stuff because I was getting a taste of Chris Rodriguez, and now we will not be getting that taste of flavor. We'll be getting the bland, uninteresting Ja'Cory Krosky merit a little bit more, I suppose, but means rerunning everything, means strap it in here for the home stretch, guys. We are put it all on the line as you are, and hopefully Eric will have some success this week. That's what I dream of here in week 15.
Yeah, Laffy had a CNN spot to go hit up. He's got to go inform them why fantasy football is ruining our youth. But anyway, looking forward to this fantastic slate that we have before us. Tons of actives that are going to change my lineups. The one that they didn't really touch on at the tail end of that one, I want to ask you about right from the get-go. Quentin Johnston, I thought he was going to play. There's a couple of things that are unlocked because I've been looking for value anywhere I can. I've been looking at the tight end position, trying to deviate any way I can, because if you run the Sims, you're getting a lot of the same tight ends that it feels like the field is. And there might be something opened up there with Gadsden, but like Quinn Johnston's out. That seems important when you remove him from the equation.
Yeah, I mean, it's important relative to what that Chargers ecosystem is. I'm not sure it's important relative to me wanting to play them too much because you still have to do some guesswork there about, who does have the upside amidst the receivers, amidst now the running back by committee, amidst Rondé Gadsden, obviously as part of the receiving group. So, and a total not that great for the Chargers. So I'm not really there. I mean, the big thing for me is that I personally, injury-wise, the thing that's affected me the most on Friday on my Splash Play channel, and I've done this multiple times this year, ranted against Woody Marks because I really find him grossly untalented as a rookie. And, in particular, all the stuff we love about rookies coming in, guys who miss tackles, guys who are shifty, guys who break explosive plays. Woody Marks doesn't really do a lot of that. I think people sort of got sort of manipulated by Woody Marks breaking some long plays. I'm now putting it as though he's some sort of malevolent being. He's it, basically. Well, welcome to Dairy with Woody Marks is what we're getting. But I think for Woody Marks, I just don't think he's that good. But with Nick Chubb out, a nice total for them. CJ Stroud, your cash game QB of the week. I think Woody Marks is a good play. So there's a lot to grapple with here, I think, down the home stretch for me and for the slate.
Yeah, I think the Woody Marks chalk is going to be an interesting talking point as he had started to have his workload ramped up even with Nick Chubb there. Nick Chubb gets dinged up. 26 carries for him this week. 19.5 rushing attempts prop, juiced towards the over. Last time I looked, that is a spicy meatball. I mean, it's like him and Quinshon Judkins. Don't know why I couldn't say that name today. Is what it is. Not like I do this for a living or anything. Very much looking forward to kind of seeing what Woody Marks' workload is going to be here. What we could potentially do with our lineups to get away from it here. But yeah, we just had Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. He's going to look a lot more interesting now with Chris Rodriguez out. And I will point out the other thing that I didn't throw out in my Chargers analysis. McDuffie's out. So McDuffie got dinged up in that last game against Houston as well. And so there's going to be some patchwork there by Kansas City to try to keep some of that passing volume, some of the guys at bay on the Chargers side. Might be just a team that I'm more interested in than it would appear the field is, especially talking with you from the get-go. But as always, we are going to be sharing the sims here directly on screen. And because there are so many updates that need to occur, we're going to start in the single lineup sim, which I know makes a lot of you guys happy because you guys enjoyed the way that we had been doing that the last few weeks. And well, I don't really have a choice because my lineups are going to look very, very different. But before we dive in position by position, like we always do, I do want to ask about late swap. It's kind of my shtick. It's also, well, it should be everybody's shtick because it's quite important when you're playing fantasy sports to take information that you gain in an early window or injury information that you gain later after lock and be able to apply it to your lineups to create the highest ROI you can. Do you have any concerns about Christian McCaffrey, his workload, or anything of that nature? Because if he's out, I feel like 100% Brian Robinson Jr. would be the play. I don't think he's going to be out. I think there's limitations, but just asking you about this specific window of time, because we have 5 games in the afternoon. We have a 55.5 total, and we've got a massive Q tag. Spags, are you doing anything with your lineups to account for late swap?
No, because I think that McCaffrey's going to go. I mean, the reports have been in favor of that. I think really the biggest risk is that something happens in game or, theoretically Tennessee's been, hanging in more games lately, but theoretically they could run ahead and then certainly want to play him less. But I don't know, like the Niners this year have sort of exercised like a jarring lack of caution with McCaffrey, I feel like. So I'm not sure why today, the back injury, maybe, but they are still, playing to get to the postseason. They are still playing for things, beyond just, what we are seeing necessarily as people that are a little bit more concerned about the injury. And again, week to week, they still give him, 25 to 30 touches. So I'm not sure that changes, but I think that really late swap wise, you'll have a lot of games going. It's odd. There's not a 405 game today. Have you noticed that? It's all 425.
Yeah. I love it. I think it's awesome to be able to not have that early one. Part of it is that we just have so many divisional games that are showing up here in the afternoon window. We've also got huge playoff implication games. Obviously, this isn't this. Carolina, New Orleans, good for DFS, I would suppose to some extent. And obviously, I'll be swapping around, trying to backload some defense as well here. I'll be able to use Houston information and see kind of what happens there. But yeah, I enjoy when they don't have the 405 game. I like the 425 game. Plus, all Californians like Spags know the 405 is not something you want to deal with.
You're just stuck there forever in that football game for all eternity. But I just thought I can't recall a single time there hasn't been a 405 game though. It's odd too because it's not like there's a lack of games in the window. It's just 5 425 games. Are they experimenting?
I don't know. Experimenting's fine. Everybody did in
their college days. The NFL is now maturing as a lovely young woman, and now it can or gentleman, and they can experiment. It's like the hockey show, right? That's like all the rage where it's 2 hockey bros start going at it. I'm gonna beat
YouTube Chad to the joke. Okay. Yeah. No, Eric, whatever.
Yeah. Or our stream too. Yeah.
Part of a qualifier of joining Stochastic. So anyway, we've got ourselves an awesome slate. I'm very excited for it. Wanted to talk about some of the late swap stuff right from the onset. I'm going to backload a little bit of Brian Robinson just in case, like the 5% portion. And then obviously I would try to get to every share I possibly could in the event that he were somehow, some way out. But that's where I do think that there are a couple of extra plays in the afternoon window that I'm going to be valuing just for the swappability, just for the opportunities. One thing you can do along when you're here at home, you can complete a lineup over in the single lineup sim. And you can do exactly what I was doing. You can slide over to the games over in this afternoon window. You can simply click on them and you can find, all right, if I don't go this direction with Tinsley, Chase, what do those 2 wide receivers turn into? Because obviously, well, maybe Mike Gesicki, I shouldn't have him in the flex. I really think you should be doing that more while you're listening to these shows, while you're watching these shows, especially if you're hand building lineups, building a couple of them, either in the 20 max or, a couple of 3 max type entries. Really get comfortable with what news can pop up, what scores could pop up. How do I have access to the afternoon window? And obviously Detroit, LA Rams, that's going to be the oasis, the holy grail, if you will, for a lot of what I'm doing today, because there's tons of salary allocated towards the Gibbs and Nakuas of the world. And then there's some sneaky guys that I think also exist within the framework of that game if you're going the Stafford route. But you ready to dive in position by position?
Let's do it.
Yeah. But that was like Power Rangers acting. What was that?
I didn't sell my enthusiasm. Okay, here, let's try again. Okay, so my
And
motivation.
action.
Okay, let's do it.
Josh Allen is very expensive today, taking on the New England Patriots. Obviously, a game that matters to both teams. New England trying to wrap up this 1 seed. Matt Stafford, the aforementioned 23.11, our highest projected quarterback. He is projected higher than Josh Allen. What a time to be alive. But that's what Detroit and their inability to do anything but play man defense for God knows what reason, and they're not very good at it. Matthew Stafford is looking phenomenal. Arugula. Jalen Hurts, real ones know what I'm talking about there. Jalen Hurts taking on Vegas, kind of a show me spot. And then Drake May, Joe Burrow. I obviously am going to be going to the Burrow side of that one ever so slightly, but Drake May, he has Stephon Diggs, he has contract incentives, and we saw him blitzkrieg pop the face off of Buffalo last time that they played. Let's go above 6,500 before we get into the Mahomes and Lamar Jacksons of the world, 6,500 and below. Amongst the expensive quarterbacks, are you on board with what the Sims are doing and jamming Matthew Stafford in your life?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to be. The Rams, really high total, 30.5 implied points. I think they lost about a quarter of a point. So if you want to critique them for anything, it's that total's moved slightly down. But really, massive total. The Rams also a team passing over expectation overall, about 3.5% across the field, 3.6% in the red zone. Devontae Adams, biggest beneficiary of that. He's averaging 2.3 red zone targets a game. But last week, we did sort of see maybe a correction there to try to get Puka Nacua more involved, get him more opportunities to score. And I think that's sort of what you'd expect over the course of a season. But obviously, Adams has run hot. There was also a lot of talk, and it was something, I don't know if you saw this, Eric, when you were going through snap counts, but like a lot of 3 tight end personnel for the Rams. And I was like, what happened here? Like Rams played their tight ends like 50 snaps each.
They were up by 42, and I think it gets really loud in the second half when you start looking at the Allen, Parkinson, Ferguson breakdown. I do want to be trying to dip my toes into the Rams tight end pool. I just don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do other than click on Colby Parkinson, because Davis Allen's been there for God knows how long, and I am pretty sure he was out there for blocking purposes Blake Corum season second half.
Yeah, and then Ferguson was out there a bunch too, and they were taught. So Diana Rossini, who I sometimes critique the reporting of because I don't think she's the best reporter with a national platform in the world. That said, she did talk to the Rams, I guess, about the 3 tight end stuff, and apparently they want to keep doing that. And a big thing of it is that Ferguson they kind of view as being the third receiver. Now, I think Tutu Atwell is back in this week. I don't think that really matters too much relative to the slate, but it could mean that maybe they go less of the 3 tight end stuff. But it does seem like using Ferguson as that third receiver, that's another stack partner you have. Parkinson's also commanded a pretty good rate as well. 25% target per out run for him. That's not a bad number. Davis Allen, I think is more talented than he's shown, but I agree. He has seemed like he's mostly settling into a blocking role for the team at this point, but it does make the stacks a little more interesting. So I think Stafford, very chalky, it seems, but with that total, with the matchup, Detroit also going to be theoretically competitive enough to push that offense a little bit more. It just seems like a great spot for Stafford, who's been just crushing all year.
Been crushing all year, and obviously this is a spot where Detroit can put up points too, and that's fun. It's fun when you get these 55 totals, and I think the field is kind of they're missing some opportunities. I think the tight end side on the Rams, and then obviously Jameson Williams, I think there's still no Sam Laporta. We play a small sample size game in the NFL where we try to blow it out of proportion at certain times. Like running backs are guaranteed touches. When wide receivers need to get the ball somewhat downfield for them to, be effective, like the Jameson Williams of the world. So there's more volatility that exists, but he's 6,100 and I don't understand how people aren't playing him as well. And I love them as run backs to a lot of what I'm doing with Stafford. I very much love Matthew Stafford more than I love Jared Goff here, but there's just so many players within this game that, why is Jameson Williams sub 10% in a 55.5 total? The world may never know. It's an uncomfortable click because, Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's back and, played. He never went anywhere technically, which is kind of the funny part. He just showed back up again immediately. Beetlejuice. But I just think it's a game environment that no matter what, Matthew Stafford going to be a part of my lineups. Plus, he's the only quarterback of this grouping in the afternoon window. I find that to be pretty fascinating. I get all of the expensive quarterback information, Spags, and I get to apply it to that game. I get to apply it to a couple of other very interesting games in that afternoon window. Some really low ownership that's going to be guaranteed on the Sam Darnolds of the world, just because of, what the defense numbers are going to be on the other side of that. Kenneth Walker could end up getting steamed up, and it wouldn't shock me whatsoever. But to have the only quarterback be the highest projected guy, highest ownership guy, I don't really care. Give me all the Matt Stafford today.
Yeah, and I do think the fact that is most appealing to me is that he's not your cash game QB despite being so well projected. Though I will say industry-wide, it does seem like sometimes you get with other projections out there, Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams in your optimals, so maybe people land on Stafford a little bit more. But, I'm willing to be there. Just, again, great total matchup that should be pressing. And I agree with you, too. Like the bringbacks, Amon-Ra, I think, is in a really good spot here. A zone-heavy matchup. Ross Dwelly, not on the team anymore, so you have even one less tight end who's been on the field, not really commanding targets or anything, but has been out there. That should be good for Amon-Ra, just kind of getting the basically tight end level targets for himself a little bit more in a zone heavy matchup. I think that Amon-Ra is a strong play, but Stafford really being the core of it all, building around Stafford feels pretty good this week.
Your boy back in his USC glory days coming out west. He's ready to rock. I'm very much looking forward to that game like everybody else. Let's go down the board here. We're Patrick Mahomes. Do or die. You got to run the table. Really no questions, if, ands, or buts. This is kind of Colonel's last stand. I don't know what to make of Patrick Mahomes today. He's the one guy that, as we work through this for the next hour, I wouldn't be surprised if I ended up with like near zero or if I ended up with like 10, 12%. Really is going to matter what happens with the JCM piece. Some of these other Chargers, I think, are going to be interesting to potentially put in those Mahomes lineups. But I know I'm playing Rashee Rice in them. I know I'm playing Travis Kelce in them. So I think Kansas City, pretty straightforward in what I want to do with them. It's just a question of how good the Chargers look on the other side. Oh, speak of the devil, Justin Herbert, unplayable? Is Justin Herbert like unplayable on a slate? That's pretty wild to see. But Brock Purdy, he is your FanDuel cash game quarterback. I'm quite sure it's 7,500 for all you FanDuel folks who say, I don't give you love too. No discrimination here, squirrel. I love Brock Purdy for tournaments today on DraftKings as well. He is 6,200. He has a number of different ways to be paired up, whether that's CMC, Jennings, Kittle, all of them guys who can smash at their given positions. And Tennessee DVOA just continues to be a sieve, the likes of which the world's never seen before. Well, I guess Cincinnati somehow worse. And that's where Lamar Jackson is very interesting as well. I just don't have a ton of Lamar Jackson. I don't know what to do about it, Spags, but it seems as though I'm playing more Brock Purdy. I'm playing less Lamar Jackson. Curious what your stances are here in this range.
You didn't mention one guy who actually I think is the most interesting QB in the range. Jalen Hurts. I think it is. I think it's a real kind of do or die matchup for Philly today. And, it does scare me a little bit. Jalen Hurts, I warned, I was on the Live Before Lock show with Lofty on Monday. Thought it was going to be a spot where the Eagles were going to shit the bed, and they shit the bed, and it was hilarious to watch them shit the bed as well in the Monsters Inc. version of the stream where
shit the bed.
Sully broke a 60-yard swing pass and picked him off a million times. Very, very funny to see the salt in the wounds of the Eagles fans, including my wife. But yeah, for Jalen Hurts, I think there's a spot here. It is a weak pass defense going against them again. A spot here where you should be able to see him be good. I don't think it's a clear AJ Brown spot either because it is a zone heavy matchup. The targets per out run rate for all of the guys there, Devontae Smith, AJ Brown, Dallas Goedert, become a little bit more interchangeable. They're all around 20% and change. So for Jalen Hurts, I think it's interesting to go there this week because really what is the rule of thumb for me that has worked out a lot this year with the Eagles? When everybody's playing them, we don't play them. When nobody's playing them, let's go there a little bit more and see how it goes. 3% ownership for Hurts. I just think that now we're writing off the Eagles, and this is when they have like the positivity rap. It's not in the locker room anymore. So after the 1 week he was there, so things are going to turn around today, perhaps.
Oh my God, that was the dumbest bit I've ever seen in my time. They should fire Sirianni just for that. That was allowed. Like
that was the lineman, I think. So linemen maybe notoriously unfunny, I think, relative to positions. And what's that name? The opposite lineman, please.
Jason Kelsey's hilarious. Like that
is he? That's a bad take. That's like a populist take.
Download the Tails app. Download the Tails app. Download the Tails app. All right, now we're back. Just wanted to new shiny thing here. We got ourselves some interesting spots further down the board. Jared Goff, Sam Darnold, Trevor Lawrence. I think all of these guys are very, very viable. And this is the one guy that I just don't think the field's going to get to. The Sims have loved Sam Darnold all year long. It's wild, actually, because the JSN stuff against the Falcons, obviously, JSN, well, he's the solo piece you wanted, and then Nakua just goes completely nuclear. I thought I was going to win everything last week with all the T. Higgins and all the land, and you know what? I'm still had a fantastic week. I'm not going to complain. Had enough Michael Wilson to survive some of that. Plus, I kept him in a lot of those major lineups that I had the Higgins smashes in. No Shedeur Sanders, pain, suffering personified. But Trevor Lawrence is a guy I've been on a lot more the last few weeks. Chat, don't do it. But Trevor Lawrence, I don't know if people are going to be clicking on him all that much either. And I get that we have Jared Goff here. And it's like, oh, Jared Goff in this same spot, sub 3%, nobody's going to play. There's no rushing upside whatsoever. And I do want to be able to spend up a little bit more towards the Staffords where, you look at his 2.5 passing touchdowns on the over, juice the over, like unbelievable type lines that are just hard for me to get away from when you're comparing your betting stuff to your DFS stuff and applying it. Trevor Lawrence, Sam Darnold, are you on board with them as much as me? Because I feel like the field is going to go cheap like we've been doing the last few weeks.
Yeah, and I've been enjoying that. Unfortunately, last week, like you mentioned, I just did not get Shedeur as one of them, and it really upsets me too because every week lately I've been going like cheap QBs. Let's play them. Let's do it. It's hitting enough times in a row. And Shedeur is one I looked at and was like, I don't see it. I just don't see it this week. And now it's like, now it's hit. I would want to chase it here because the underlying numbers are still not good. For Shedeur, he's like your least accurate QB in football right now. But he got good results last week, so more power to him. I'm with you, though. Trevor Lawrence is kind of interesting. The sim does not give him a lot of love, only 1% exposure, but a 27-point implied total here. It is still a team that is, flat 0 pass rate over expectation. So at least they're not in the negative numbers. They do go a little bit negative in the red zone, but they do pass a good amount. Jacoby Myers last week, I think people kind of jumped off the train, even though the workload was great. Still got 10 targets in that game. And Brian Thomas does have upside. Brenton Strange has upside. And ATN is going to be decently owned, so you get some theoretical leverage going to that pass game. I am also not a Trevor Lawrence guy, but I do think at 5% ownership, I want to be with that because I do think he's got a shot at having upside. And Jacksonville's a team I've kind of just had a blind spot to all year because a lot of timeshares overall, but it seems like they're becoming a better team as the season goes on. So willing to be there. And Darnold, I'm with you. The sim seems to love him. 10% exposure to the top 150 I'm getting right now, though. Have to rerun the data because projections just updated. But for Darnold, I think the big thing is that you get JSN with it and data everywhere, stochastics, industry-wide. Every sim out there loves JSN, thinks he's the bell of the ball. So you get Sam Darnold coming along for the ride. Against the Colts, I don't expect a lot of push from Phillip Rivers. Seems like the betting markets don't either. But, if they do push at all, Sam Darnold maybe could be better here than he has been in some of the other matchups he's had lately.
Yeah, we've got some beautiful stuff going on over here at Stochastic right now. If you guys go to stochastic.com, go to the tools section. If you've got your subscription active here, and you're going to go to the data hub. Now, a lot of people asking in the chat, where do I find this? Where do I find that? So I'm just going to walk through it super quickly here. In between, we got the top stacks directly on the data hub now, directly sitting there. The top plays for the showdown slate directly over on the screen there, as well as the stats that people have been looking for, asking for. Maybe you're aggregating, maybe you're looking for some betting edges. There's an opportunity for everybody to find everything they're looking for directly here. Plus, if you go to the projections page itself, boom, bust tool directly on screen for you. Bust, ceiling, Lord have mercy, I'm about to bust. Lots of opportunities for you to be able to head over to the data hub, find a lot of goodness, put it in your mouth. It's delicious. So head over to there right now if you guys are looking for it, or if it's your first time logging in all week as you're getting ready to build out your Sunday lineups. And then come kick it in this single lineup sim here with me as well. I do want to take a look here. So we've got 8:59. We just got everything updated like a minute ago. So this is beautiful. We're going to be getting kind of a fresh take, fresh look, a fresh outlook, if you will. Lamar Jackson trimmed down a little bit. Brock Purdy's kind of stayed steady Eddie, stayed the same here on a number of these guys, but this one changed. CJ Stroud. I think he's your cash game quarterback on DraftKings this week. You can correct me if I'm wrong, or if you think that there's somebody else. I saw some people pushing for Marcus Mariota. I don't completely hate that idea. The Giants, they're the Giants. We totally get it. It's kind of a game that doesn't matter, though. And I feel like CJ Stroud against Arizona will still be pushing that pace, no treble. But CJ Stroud, he's your cash game quarterback this week, Spags. I know we've been avoiding these guys like the plague the last few weeks, and it's worked out really, really well for us. I don't know if I can hit full eject on him this week, personally.
No, and I get it. I mean, I think the part that I don't love about Stroud is that you are going to get him a lot with Woody Marks, I think, based on optimal lineups, based on what the field's doing. And I think at that point, I mean, part of the reason I think Stroud is a little bit more in play than your average cash game QB, where I, again, for multiple weeks in a row, I've been like, I'm just not playing the cash game QB. It has literally not bit me in the ass once. I do think this week, the fact you go to Nico, the fact you can increase that stack, get away from Woody Marks, play the pass game more. And it really comes down to, like, I think Marks is going to have all the opportunity in the world. I'm not sure he cashes in on it. If he got 19 touches for 70 yards, didn't get in the box, like, that wouldn't shock me based on what I know of him. But then that means the pass game has a higher shot to score in the game with a decent total for Houston. And I think the pass defense for Arizona a little bit worse than the run defense too. So Stroud, if you want to play him in a stack, I would do it. I would be mindful though, if you're playing Stroud plus Marks, like adding Nico on top of that, adding whatever, you're probably still pretty doopy with the field at that point.
Let's talk about one thing that I think is very interesting, and I've been thinking about a lot this week, Spags, for single entry, because this is probably the chalkiest quarterback stack that I've played in single entry all year. I'm going Stroud Collins. I think Collins last week was kind of a big stand that I had in DFS for that showdown slate, just jammed him in the captain. And this week, I'm kind of jamming Nico Collins again for a number of different reasons, but I like the idea of playing Stroud, Collins, Houston defense. Houston defense is not going to get clicked in a lot of these CJ Stroud lineups, especially hand building and single entry. This could just turn into a 42-7 schlacking. I don't hate the idea of Michael Wilson. I think I'm going to be doing some of that more in large field. Hard to get to the McBride spot with tight end being such a salary saving position. Plus, his receiving prop is as low as I can remember it being. He still has a large reception prop, which is very, very useful over on DK. But if that ceiling, that 25, 30-point ceiling is kind of mitigated against Houston, I don't know if I'm in love with trying to force him in as a lot of the run backs there. Michael Wilson fits in a little bit easier. We know his role without Marvin Harrison Jr. out there. But what do you think about CJ Stroud, Nico? Texans defense is kind of my primary stack in going about this and just saying Houston dominates.
Yeah, I don't think that's a crazy thing to do. I mean, the one thing that I've been, I would say, surprised by / happy with is that it does seem like since coming back, Stroud has keyed in on Nico the same way that Davis Mills was, where Stroud had his best game before that injury for himself for the concussion protocol stint, where it was just like Nico out, kind of had target agnostic offense, really distributed pretty well there, where nobody had an outlier day, but a bunch of guys played pretty well. For Nico Collins, though, like, he is a guy that needs to be fed like an alpha receiver, I think, to have the production that he should have. And now he's getting that work. So I don't mind that conceptually. I do think it's a little more interesting to me to consider playing Brissett and going that way, where you then could play maybe Woody Marks and Nico with a Wilson, maybe Wilson and McBride, because I think this is the one week where people aren't on Brissett, but in reality, the volatility is, now potentially positive for him, where facing a defense that nobody wants to go against. And I've been, amongst the people DFS wise touting the Texas defense on showdown slates and stuff, with Lafayette on one show in particular, where nobody was really on it. I think now it's the spot where, like, everybody knows the Texans defense is good. Maybe play into the Cardinals side a little bit more. And that's how, if you want to play the chalk, you get more unique there. But I get what you're doing too. I think that's one way to get unique too, or, more unique. It's a lot coming up naturally in projections. You'll get Stroud and Texans kind of no matter what you do.
Yep. I think you'll get them intermixed quite a bit, but more for single entry, talking through hand building, talking through building out one lineup to rule them all, one lineup to find them. I'm not sure how much they get clicked on together. It feels like something that's just going to end up a little bit under the radar, but I want to ask you about a game environment that might go under the radar purely because weather is a thing. Marcus Mariota and Jackson Dart, I don't think are like the kind of clicks people want to make on this kind of a slate, but Marcus Mariota, I thought, was kind of cash viable coming into this week at one point in time. I think Jackson Dart still remains cash viable if you really wanted to go that direction. But once again, I'm going to be going the CJ Stroud direction and playing cash here for week 15 back at the home base. But I don't know what to do with them either. I guess Mahomes, Dart, and Mariota are kind of the uncomfortable ones for me on this slate. They project out really, really well. You can see Jordan Love quite a bit further down here. Jacoby Brissett quite a bit further down. Caleb Williams against Cleveland quite a bit further down. But I just feel confident that CJ Stroud's going to put up a decent game. I don't know about Super Saiyan's ceiling, but Jackson Dart, we've seen some rushing equity from. Marcus Mariota, same thing throughout his NFL career. Just don't know how I want to stack them up. I don't feel great about Ben Sinnott. I don't feel great about Theo Johnson Chalk potentially at the tight end position. That one feels pretty egregious to me. How are you handling that game environment specifically?
I think it's a really interesting one. I mean, the big thing is that it bums me out so much that Jaden Daniels is not playing this one, because I think that would have been a little bit better of a feeling. But we have seen with Jaden out, Mariota drop back 50 times, or throw 50 passes versus Denver. I don't think he necessarily has to throw 50 times here against the Giants, but to know that that is a ceiling for him to be able to throw that much in a situation, I think is a good thing when you are facing a defense that is pretty bad in the secondary. Giants giving up a 0.09 EPA per dropback, 0.1 EPA per pass, some of the worst marks in the league, not quite as bad as the Commanders themselves, who were giving up 0.23 EPA per dropback, 0.26 EPA per pass. They are now effectively the worst defense in football alongside the Bengals. It's a spot where just you have two bad defenses and a pretty good total for both sides. So I think playing into it is a good move. I think the fact you lose Zach Ertz, I love Ben Sinnott as a talent. I don't buy that he's going to get a target share week one that matters. I'd rather just go to Debo, illness or not, rather go to McLaurin, who's looked a lot better lately. Rather go to Krosky Merritt, I think, because we are going to have no Chris Rodriguez. So I think it's a good game to attack. I like both QBs in it. I'll probably have 15 to 20% of these guys today. They are, I think, your best options in terms of game environment and price.
Ooh. Chris Broussard, is this man... You know what I'm going to say. Come on. What are we doing here? Are you serious? Don't play. Not wrong on these stands. They're like, what? First off, I can't think of an example that you would be referring to. Secondly, we're talking about guys in a quarterback pool that we're going to have 15%, 20% of max. I mean, some slates I'll have 25, 30%. If I really love a quarterback in a certain spot. I had a ton of Joe Burrow last week, had 24%, I think. And that was the highest stand I've had in a couple weeks. But what are we actually talking about here? Don't do it then. I don't give a shit. It's your money, loser. Fuck. God. Simply having a wonderful Christmas time. All right, we got other quarterbacks to kind of discuss here on the cheap end. Phillip Rivers is actually on my screen. That's wild. Tyler Shuck, he deserves to be on my screen. Carolina's defense has been pretty nifty as well here. And Shedeur Sanders just ruined the world, so it wouldn't shock me to see him at 1%. But Spags, nobody's going cheap quarterback this week. Do you have anybody that you were firing up? And why would you fire anybody up down here? I can't figure it out.
No, and unfortunately, after being one of the industry's leading cheap QB advocates lately, unfortunately, I have to give up the ghost this week, I think. I might practically play a little Cam Ward. I think he's not coming up very much. But Rivers, it's not getting a lot of market love. The projection, we're talking about around 9 to 10 fantasy points, stochastic industry-wide. It's hard to see that being there. I think Rivers can get rid of the ball, but he if it were a softer match, if you were playing the Commanders this week, I'd go, all right, Phillip Rivers, let's take the shot. He's playing Seattle, playing one of the better defenses in football. That's not the spot I want to be at personally. And Tyler Shuck, I'm okay with. Mariota at 5K. That's as cheap as I'm going. Yeah. But again, that's why I'm getting so much Dart and Mariota, because I think they're the cheap guys who could stomach. Shuck, I also can take and expect him to pass a little bit more than the rushing upside he had last week. But it's not exciting really. Brady Cook, he's throwing a catchable ball. I think that's good for him.
I have the most of in this range.
You have Brady Cook?
2 of 150. Brady Cook.
So he got the ball where it was supposed to go and was throwing 9 air yards per attempt. There's something there, but boy, the EPA numbers were negative. He had a -3 EPA per run play. He gave actively stuff where it was not good passing, but small sample size. Yeah, not a cheap QB week, unfortunately, unless Mariota counts as cheap.
Yeah, I played Ruckert in that lineup, it looks like. So that's a real thing that I clicked on. Very fun. And Addie Mitchell. My main thing with Cook, he's 4,300 and allows you to play the ridiculous Detroit Rams lineups. That's the only thing I'm looking at. It's a salary saver. Maybe he finds us a touchdown. Maybe he throws for 250 and that's enough for you here if you don't get a crazy ceiling. But That is a largest of large field play. I think he's the most interesting purely because he is the cheapest, Spags. I have no interest in him as actually being a good quarterback. Every pass catcher you're pairing with him that you're hoping gets that touchdown is super, super cheap. And yeah, Rucker, 2,500. What a time to be alive.
Yeah, he actually might pay off today at 2,500. Like, it's silly. I don't think he has a crazy ceiling, but you have a QB who's thrown an accurate ball, but is probably not ready for prime time. Tight end might be his friend, and Ruckert's commanding targets about as well as Mason Taylor is. So, not a play I'm super confident in, and we have a lot of show left. If we're talking $2,500 tight ends, but Ruckert to Brady Cook. If you told me like you put all the good players around that, that's not insane. It's not insane.
Yeah, I mean, part of what we do here on this show is we talk quarterback, but we talk about it within the context of the slate. We talk about the stacks, we talk about the associated pieces, and then we'll get granular here as we head to the running back section, which does not look like my quarterback allocation. There are going to be some stands in this range, that is for sure, but I'm going to be updating the Sims here in the background. So while I do so, I want to have you know that DraftKings, Underdog, Onyx Odds, all these other spots, we have so many different places where you can sign up on your screen. Left side, right side. We got better, sleeper, underdog. I want to get better. Lots of ways where you can either at Pick'em sites or at Sportsbook sign up and get a free month of The Sims for every partner you sign up for. All you do is head to the description box below. Click on where it says get a free month of The Sims for every partner you sign up for. That's literally what it says down there. You click on the link, you sign up, you send over to support@stokastic.com. Your first betting ticket, your first everything getting kind of squared away there. The instructions are right there for you, and you'll get a month of The Sims, which, hey, that's going to lead you up until almost the end of the NFL season in its entirety. I believe that takes you all the way to the divisional round. You won't quite get the conference championships in, but hey, let's say you sign up for DraftKings and Onyx Odds. Well, you would have an opportunity to have 2 months. That would take you all the way through the Super Bowl for sure. You can also check it out in the NBA streets. We've got streams going every damn day, Monday through Friday, actually Monday through Saturday in the NBA DFS streets. I know Spags has been on some of the Saturday shows here that I've tuned into as well, giving out great information to the people completely free over here on the YouTubes. And well, this is a great way that we can help you out. You can help us out. And that's really what this is about, is being able to have this cohesion, this synergy, this love that we have in the chat every single day. I know I feel it. You can feel it too. I feel it in my fingers. I feel it in my... I need to watch Love Actually. I've quoted it like 3 times today already.
Oh, yeah, well, I wanted you to keep singing so I could kind of bop and we could kill some time.
That's what I was trying to do. I'm trying to literally... I'm trying to run my damn sim. Let me run the sim, but you know what? We're stuck. We're stuck in purgatory. We're staying on the single item sim for this one, baby. We go to the running back position, starting with the expensive Christian McCaffrey. We have 22.6% on the screen here. This is probably, I would say, the most likely piece to come in way under their ownership projection. I think we all see the Q tag. I think we all feel a little uncomfortable that if he doesn't get that massive workload in the passing game, running game, he has a super low, like right around 61.5, 62.5 rushing prop. I might have to dabble my toes in if he's active for this one and fire that up against Tennessee. That again, they are broken dreams and sadness, the like of which this world's never seen before. Don't read anything into the fact that they beat Cleveland. It's Cleveland. I do not care. His name is Chastity. She is white trash. But we've got Christian McCaffrey. 9K specs. That's a big tag. I don't know how I feel about it, but I'd freaking kick myself if he ends up 12, 15% and I don't have some.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to be with the field on McCaffrey. I mean, it seems like at this point, sim-wise, 17% exposure in the top 150. Fields at 23. I think getting a little bit pushed more towards the pay-up receivers because, you have Woody Marks available. The data still likes guys like Kenneth Walker enough that he comes up a little bit. ATN, Sim is now in love with, it seems like, got him 33% exposure the most recent run I just did here. So as a result, it just seems like a little bit less paying up for McCaffrey. Paying up for Gibbs 11% too, like not a crazy amount with the field at 17. I think these guys maybe a little bit of a victim of the slate, along with McCaffrey's own back injury, spooking people off. But I think with the Fields over concern sometimes for injuries, the Q tag being on there, 20 to 25% still, I think I'm cool with. But, if he were like fully healthy, he might have gotten to 40, 45, maybe for, at least for me. Now it seems like it'll be kept in check enough. So I get it with McCaffrey and I get the fears.
And then we got Jahmyr Gibbs, where you're telling me 16% of people are going to play Jahmyr Gibbs. Gimme more, as Britney Spears would say. Jahmyr Gibbs, my friend, 23.34 DraftKings points. The ceiling is undeniable. And plus what he does, same thing McCaffrey does, is give me late exposure with salary at the running back position, things that I can move around to other lineup spots. I'm not backloading my lineups entirely. We talked about Washington, New York. I'm still deciding in the last 40 minutes how I want to handle the Mariota and Jackson Dart pieces within the Sims as we have everything updated. And I just don't see any planet where I'm not overweight to Jahmyr Gibbs, no matter what.
Yeah, I don't love the matchup for Gibbs, but I am getting him with the field. So I'm not like opposed to him. I'm not going to knock him down, I think, as we go through the final run here stuff. But yeah, like to me, 15% Gibbs, I think is okay. I want to have more McCaffrey. Really not getting James Cook at all. And frankly, I think those guys a little bit closer in terms of how I view their outcomes.
You brought this up so many times. I thought for sure you were going to be on James Cook with me because you play James Cook when he's under-owned. Not even under-owned. You just play James Cook when he's low-owned, period, end of story.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying is like I'd rather take a little bit away from Gibbs and give some to Cook.
Oh, that's fair. Totally fair. I took it from McCaffrey and I'm adding it to Cook.
Okay, so yeah, it's kind of doing the same thing then. Yeah. I'm just a little bit less sold on Gibbs here. Like chasing him after he's had the outlier days, I feel like is not usually my Gibbs approach. And I do think the Rams are a good enough defense here. Gibbs maybe gets there through the pass game more if things really get out of hand. I'm just not sold it's the right game script for him against this Rams defense either. So I would rather take a little bit. McCaffrey, 20-25%, I think, no matter what. But I'd rather get a little bit less Gibbs, a little bit more Cook. And that's one thing I did manually here while we've been talking.
I love that. I've been talking a lot. Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, both of them sitting double-digit ownership. Josh Jacobs, Kyron Williams. Williams & Williams, really good stuff. Great law firm. Chase Brown, nobody's clicking on. Enrico Dowdle. Don't know why Travis Etienne got X'd out for me here at the moment. Oh, there you go. That's because I need to clear the lineup over here. There we go. It's all right. Just the product that I use every single day. No big deal. We've got ourselves tons of opportunities to get different, tons of opportunities to eat a little bit of chalk, but nothing that's egregious. I don't mind the Henry spot. The Saquon stuff just freaks me out. We've seen this constantly with this football team, but this feels like the best game script they've had in a long time. They've had a very difficult strength of schedule the Philadelphia Eagles have, and I think that makes some of their issues. I'm not going to say that they're not issues because their offensive coordinator might need to wear a permanent dunce cap, but like Saquon Barkley is in a smash spot and I currently don't have him Spags. It freaks me out. Talk to me about some of the chalk that we've got in this range and people that you're making stands on.
I would argue that Saquon's not necessarily in a smash spot just because the Raiders are a pretty good run defense. And, and I think for Saquon, you really want the run out to be pristine at this point because it's been the only times he's really hit a ceiling. The Giants game, most noteworthily, who is the worst run defense in football. But the Raiders, negative 0.06 EPA per rush, and the red zone stiff as well, the negative 0.1 EPA there. I'm with the field on Saquon right now, though I think he might come down with me boosting Cook. I am not crazy about him. I'd rather play the Eagles pass game, but certainly, the Eagles have been down enough here playing both sides of it. But like last week versus the Chargers, it took Saquon getting a fake 50-yard tush push to kind of have the game that he did. I'm just not sold that it's like a better situation for him now. It's not his fault. Like last year, the O-line ran hot. This year, they're running cold. But he needs like really it to be clean, I think, to really feel great about those numbers for him. But Derrick Henry going against the Bengals, hard to critique that again. Certainly not the most efficient player in football, not anywhere near as good as he was last year. He was missing tackles, crazy efficient in all the EPA metrics and all that. This year, negative EPA rusher, negative EPA per target, not missing tackles, but he's facing Cincinnati. So I think he is a little bit more in play. I'm with the field on it, but stochastic top 150, I only got him at 5%. So I think Henry's worth 10 to 15% ownership. And I guess the next tier we could talk about separately. But ATN, interesting player that I'm curious your thoughts on.
Yeah, ETN is a fascinating one. I felt like Tootin was going to start mixing in a little bit more than what he has at times. And again, they disbanded kind of what they had going in the backfield or what we perceived in the best ball streets. as, they parted ways with whomever he is that just went off to the Eagles. I forgot his name off the top of my head, but there's no doubt whatsoever. Tank Bigsby. There we go. But there's just no question that Travis Etienne is still going to be a guy that is very viable in a spot like this. They're nearly 2 touchdown favorites. It is what it is. Just wanted to bring this up because, again, I know people are coming in late. I know that there's been a little bit of change around to what you might be used to on a Sunday in the NFL streets. So once again, go to the Data Hub. The Boom Bust tool is directly on the screen for you. Everything that you know and love from the Boom Bust tool, even the standard deviations thrown in there for you, but boom, bust, ceiling, floor, ownership, optimal, leverage, projected, value, all of the goodness that you're used to on the Boom Bust tool directly on the Data Hub. That is good stuff. So shout out to our dev team. They have done an unfreaking believable job over the weekend. I cannot tell you how, I almost said the word proud, but maybe I am just proud. They've done an unbelievable job putting everything together here at Stochastic to make it clean, make it easier, and make it more user-friendly here for you directly on the tab. So wanted to give them their flowers. Speaking of, Zay Flowers, going to be somebody I'm overweight to. So that's cool. Anyway, that was my segue. Not the scooter, but like just the way that it's usually used, right? SUGUE, or is it segue? SEGUE. Anyway, we got ourselves Queen Sean Junkins. You said you wanted to talk about the rest of this range. Who do you speak of? Because until we get to Woody Marks down here at the bottom, nobody is getting clicked on. And I'm overweight to RJ Harvey, but he is the most owned of this range. So what the hell, Spags?
ATN 12.5%. I'm getting 33 in the sim. I think practically my number is going to be closer to like 2025. But ATN looks pretty good. I do think maybe a little bit of a misnomer. If you go through the snaps last week, Bashal Tutin played a very low amount, but it was because he got concussion checked, I think, in game, didn't come back. I'm not sure if he didn't come back in or not. Basically, was like injured throughout it. That was part of why workload got a little bit higher for ATN. But that said, the Jets defense is bad enough. I think it's worth taking the shot here. They're bad versus the run, bad versus the pass. They've improved a little bit better since getting rid of Quinn Williams and also getting rid of Sauce Gardner, which may be counterintuitive, but those guys are maybe not helping out as much. The team getting a little bit closer together during a stint on defense, but still not a good defense overall. So I think ATN, we talked about Lawrence as well, pass game, it's all appealing going against the Jets. But in RJ Harvey, I'm getting 5%. Genty, I'm getting 3%. And then Woody Marks is the one that stands out. Sim-wise, he's kind of 75% for me, the top 150. I think in terms of my lineups that I'm working on right now, going to be closer to 40 to 50%. He's not a talented back, but he is in a good game situation against Arizona. Good total, good defense. And then, if that is on his side, the Texans defense should keep him in good positions to score. And Marks is cheap. So where are you landing with Woody Marks, Eric? Because he is mega chalk, and I don't want to be at 75%. I'll say that much.
I think this is probably the easiest thing to do. And again, you go into the contest generator. Everything is now, we have groups that you can put things together with. And I want to show some of that on screen before we get done with this program, because I think that there's some cool stuff that we can integrate there. I'm going to jump over to the wide receiver position. When we go there, I'll share kind of some of the sim results. We'll be able to talk about some more specificity there. But I do think Woody Marks is a guy that it doesn't feel right. You look at some of his efficiency numbers on the ground, and it hasn't been pretty. And I totally get what you're looking at. Plus, we need a ceiling still. It's not like you can get 17 and change. He can hit his projection, and we're going to be sitting in la la land. I think he still needs 20 plus. Like, there's enough running backs. There's enough going on in this afternoon window, especially if something happens, like God forbid with CMC, where if you told me CMC was out right now, I would want 100% Brian Robinson, and I would be able to trim basically everything off of Woody Marks. But in DFS, you're not allowed to reverse engineer your lineup either for new information or for things that just happened at lock. And so for me, I'm with you where like 75% is a little much for me, but I'm able to just basically say, all right, 50% of lineups here. In single entry, I probably still click on him. I'm going to play him in that CJ Stroud lineup I talked about with Nico, going to the Houston defense and just having 4 Houston pieces there, looking for that onslaught result. Arizona's throwing the ball a ton. Good luck throwing the ball a ton against this Houston defense. This should be fascinating to watch this football game, but there's so many ways that when you have Daria Gumbawale and British Brooks just sitting there on the wings, absolutely no desire whatsoever to even like contemplate anything else. And I doubt Houston is either. Woody Marks is going to get the ball 20 plus times today. That's really hard to give up on this slate.
Yeah, I agree. And frankly, too, like I think a lot of the field's going to go there. I could see the chat being very enthusiastic about Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. There's going to be a lot of people that play that Woody Marks plus Krosky-Merritt. But if you do play that, you really can save money, build your Ram stack, build your whatever high dollar stack you want, your Bengals stuff. It looks pretty good if you put those guys in. So I get it. I'll be with either with the field, probably a little bit above on Krosky-Merritt. I think I'm having about a third of my lineups, but I'm just not going. The sim is like load up on Woody Marks. I don't quite feel load up on Woody Marks confident.
Let's play the Joaquin Phoenix game. You ready? You ready? Kenneth Walker.
Oh, for me,
Ooh.
he hasn't scored a touchdown since week 3. Like I get the long-term data and why it would come up. He just doesn't get red zone work. Like the Walker thing, I feel like I'm being gaslit by the data every week.
Tyrone Tracy.
Singletary would make it a thumbs down for me.
All right. Devin Neal. No, Devin Neal?
Nah, I don't think so.
Oh, and then I'm with the field guy because I'm an absolute monster, but that is what it is. No Devin Neal for you. Interesting to me. Interesting.
Well, not no, but like I'm getting 7%, which is with the field. I don't think that's a stand. I would say if I didn't get it, I wouldn't be mad.
He's my favorite way to potentially just backload and have some Brian Robinson. Cause I know it's $800 on the table, but there's just going to be some easy swappability, some functionality to playing more Devin Neal than the field right now. And if something were to happen again, I bring it up as though I think the chances of him sitting are higher than 5%, 10%, right? Can we maybe agree on that? Like a Q tag, a late Q tag on Saturday, even though he's sick, he's got a rumbly in his tumbly. Limitations, maybe another 10%. There's 80% of the time that this is a non-issue, but the times that it actually works out in your favor, I think it's such an unbelievable smash to have something that allows you to easily get yourself into Brian Robinson in running back spots. We're obviously going to see him in the flex a ton for late exposure. We obviously have a great number of game environments there, 5 total games. It's not like people won't get onto Brian Robinson, but just want to talk through it because I do think people who could just get him in a running back spot with as much Woody Marks as there exists, with as many other running backs to get to, might be a little bit lower. And you might have some interesting lineup combinations where you can still play your double tight end, still play 4 wide receivers, still do some other things. And it's going to look different than the rest of the field if you just find a way to get Devin Neal into more lineups that could turn into Brian Robinson.
Yeah, I just assume CMC is going to play. I don't know. Yep. I get it. I get the preparation for it, but I don't need to play Neal, especially with JCM opening up a little bit more. I'd rather go JCM than Neal personally, but I still have 5 to 7% of Neal, so I got it.
To my biggest stand of the entire week, I have 32% Chuba Hubbard. Why do I have 32% Chuba Hubbard, Chris Spags?
I don't, because you're an idiot.
I think he's going to play more than Rico Dowdle. Just flat out.
Okay.
He's 4,600 against the Saints. And I think Carolina defense is a little bit sneaky. Chuck played really, really well against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay has just been disappearing, but also I'm an idiot. So there you go. Chuba Hubbard. He is the absolute swap into Brian Robinson Jr. in a number of ways. Talked about Neal already there, but we're $100 away from them. And if I get stuck holding extra Chuba Hubbard, I'm all right with it. If I can swap it directly into Brian Robinson, not have to think about it, awesome. But also, people really like that. So thanks for calling me an idiot and have it be the most popular part of the show. Real fun. I love my place of employment. I love having you here with me. Where's Matt Kajeski when you need him?
He would not have called you an idiot there. To his credit, he's much classier than that.
You called me a fucking idiot, but
I mean, I will say the projection on Chuba is not it's not awful. It's an 11-point projection. He's probably your most live pivot if Krosky-Merritt were to be mega chalk. I mean, McNichols also would be a very live pivot because he could just catch a screen or something, and that's the day, and he beats out Krosky-Merritt. It's just insane that you're 30. That's 10x the field on Chuba Hubbard. It's crazy.
I'm very aware what it is. Oh, good. You can count.
Yes. I was doing some math for all the people out there.
Really, really great. I'm glad that you're here to be able to count, and I can count on you meeting me in the parking lot. You know that movie. This is also the Matt Kajeski thing. Do you know the movie I'm referring to?
I do not know what you're referring to right now. No. So the dog, for some reason, is trying to climb on me right now because of your dumb bits. Get out of here. Go.
Download the Tails app. Download the Tails app, please. Go to the App Store. Go to Google Play. Download the Tails app. Bring me joy in my life that I don't get from co-hosts. Just please. I beg of you. Greg and Spags just making fun of me incessantly all day, every day, nonstop. Just download the Tails app and make me feel better. That's literally all I ask for. And if you guys want, go to tails.bet/Lindy. Go give me a follow over there while you do. That would make me very, very happy. I'm going to throw out some free plays for the afternoon. If you guys follow me there, I'll have an opportunity to just download the Tails app. Let's go to the wide receiver position. You have anything else at running back you want to talk about, or do you want to make fun of me more?
No. I think Chuba Hubbard was. Well, how can I top that? What else do we have to talk about?
Yeah. How could you possibly top like the worst call I've ever had on this show? Again, I can say this without a doubt. I'll not have 32% Chuba Hubbard come lock. It will be
take 2% of it off, give it to Jeremy McNichols, I think is what I would say if you're playing. If you guys all at home, all of you lock it in your 33% Chuba Hubbard, just take a little bit and give some to Jeremy McNichols.
Ooh. Did you recommend a 0.1% owned play? Who are you Satanist? What are you doing?
And 10x the field on him, and you still won't be close to 33%.
I'll show you 10x the field. All right. Puka Nacua. Hard to be 10x the field on him when he's 35%. The most you could possibly be is 2.8x just by playing like 100% up. 2.9x. Yeah, it'd be great stuff if you had a ton of Puka Nacua because, well, he just looks fantabulous. But you do have the swap, $100 less to Jackson Smith and Jigba, depending on how your lineups are doing in the early window. We also have Jamar Chase, who is in the early window, whereas every other wide receiver on the expensive end, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Puka Nacua, are in the afternoon. So I'm actually going to start with this, Spags. How much Jamar Chase are you planning on playing today?
Man, so like the sim that I just ran gave me 50% Puka Nacua and 50% Jamar Chase, which feels a little aggressive, I think. I get we have now enough savings. And I think the lineups that I'm going to submit, assuming I don't tweak anything else here, I'm getting more like 40% of Jamar Chase, 40%, closer to 33 of Jamar Chase, 40% Puka Nacua. I'm cool with that. I like these guys a lot. I don't think I need to go crazy on them. I'd rather go a little more Amon-Ra St. Brown, though, Fields at 15, that number seems totally fair too. I think you want all these guys. Like I wanted exposure to JSN, Puka, Chase, Amon-Ra, not so much Rashee Rice, but I think the top four I want to get appreciable amounts of.
Yeah, Rashee Rice is very, very difficult, but I'm probably just going to play him exclusively in some Mahomes stacks. That's kind of what I'm doing in the background. Again, one of the very difficult things about being on this show and doing it for the last 4+ years in the NFL streets is I had to get exponentially better at like having my notes, having the things that I really, really want to make sure show up in my lineups, and then making sure that when late news shows up that they actually get into my damn lineups, because sometimes it gets lost in the muck. But Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback I'm still figuring out what to do in the last 22 minutes. And Rashee Rice, I think just having him exclusively attached there, because of all the late swap ability and because of Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, Puka Nacua, find it very unlikely that at least one of them does not find a Super Saiyan ceiling. I like rotating them around in the afternoon window, having the swap ability. And Rashee Rice, he's going to be exclusively attached to Mahomes, or he will not be played individually. I know that for a fact based on what I'm planning on doing with my lineups here. But we also have Devontae Adams sitting 7,200 coming off of a week where he didn't get one of those 1-yard fade out route, goal line touches, as I like to call it, because that's literally what they are when they're just stat padding for Matt Stafford here. But we're now kind of getting into this spot where they lose to Carolina. They also have kind of some weirdness going on there with the Arizona game where they just Blake Corum the shit out of it. And Devontae Adams seems a little bit, I don't know, I won't say underrepresented, but if you're using the Sims today, Stafford, Nacua, Adams, that's a lot of salary being allocated there. But in the tab, the data hub tab that I was talking about, the boom bust tool, our top stack percentage is nuclear on these Rams. I love Devontae Adams for tournaments. Do you?
I think he's a strong play. Again, I do think it stood out to me that based on industry-wide projections, you are getting Puka Nacua and Adams as your cash game options at receiver. So I think that that does make me a little bit concerned that maybe the double gets overplayed relatively, or at the very least, receivers get overplayed, maybe with a different QB who's cheaper. But I think Adams is a strong play. Like we talked about, the touchdown equity is really huge. Massive total for the Rams, being over 30 implied points this week. Your highest, one of the highest of the year, but definitely your highest of the week as well. So going to Adams at 7,200, I have no issue with, especially too, the fact that last week Puka Nacua did kind of get some correction on scoring touchdowns. This week could easily flow back to Adams because he is getting roughly 2x the work in the red zone inside the 10-yard line as well in terms of target share compared to Puka Nacua. So yeah, I think Adams, to me, I'm getting him in about 20% of my lineups, and that feels like a good amount, a little bit above the field, but not crazy.
I love that for you. I love that for you. And also I love just getting to these Rams in general. Puka, I didn't even ask you, between Puka and Jackson Smith and Jigba, what's your split amongst the two most expensive, also getting jammed by the Sims?
I'm getting 30. So it looks like right now 37 Puka, because I just reran things a little, 14% JSN. So definitely a lean towards Puka. I also, personally don't feel the need to correct it because I don't think JSN needs to have an outlier day to day, with Philip Rivers having about a 10-point projection, really bad team total for the Colts. I'd rather go to the competitive spots, which are, Rams, Detroit, Cincinnati, Baltimore. Those are the other top receivers. So I'd favor those guys.
Let's get some super chats banged out. Two of them. Bang, bang, boom. We are in the room. What a day. We rock and re-roll. Thanks for the input. We go into the moon. Silken Life. I don't know what that is, but $4.99 super chat from Antoine Wake. We appreciate you. And then Jeff Williams, 6089. We see you here all the time. We love it. You're damn fine. One defense to win it all. One defense to find them. Jags, Texans, or Seahawks, Spags?
I think, they're all good choices. Let me go to my exposure just so I could actually give you what I'm playing more. Team I'm getting the most of this week is the Bears defense. So that's neither of them. I think Seahawks would be my ownership lean.
Yep. Seahawks afternoon window. Houston, I'm going to be playing in single entry. So there is that. I think they're both awesome, but Seattle's in the afternoon window, and they're playing a 44-year-old quarterback who is not named Tom Brady. What a time to be alive. What a time in space, on Earth, to be alive and to be here. What are you looking at? It looks like you are looking through a butthole. What are you doing?
I'm just looking through the player exposure. Sorry.
Oh, okay. You were so focused. You were laser focused, like I would imagine you be if you were staring down the heart of a bumhole. Anyway, let's get ourselves.
I don't think you have that much focus for that.
I feel like
you know where you are.
You would be focused, you freak. Yeah, you would. AJ Brown, Nico Collins, Michael Wilson, Ladd McConkey, Zay Flowers. This is an awesome, awesome range. Similar to last week where I talked about T. Higgins at length. Zay Flowers fits the bill for me this week. I cannot believe that he is sub 10%. We are seeing a massive role for him. And Mark Andrews, despite getting paid, hasn't exactly, I bet him to score a touchdown today, so there is that. But Zay Flowers against Cincinnati. Cincinnati, you're kind of able to do whatever you want offensively against. Now, Baltimore put it up an absolute dud on Thanksgiving that's led to this demise of sorts for them, and Lamar Jackson playing like an absolute dunce cap. But I love Flowers in this early window. He's some early information I want. Ladd McConkey still didn't get boosted up enough there. 6,400, totally get it. He's not really the Charger that I'm going to be taking a stand on, it looks like, in my lineups when it's all said and done. And then Michael Wilson. We have to talk about Michael Wilson. The target share has been ridiculous. The role with no Marvin Harrison Jr. has been ridiculous. But how much are you planning to play today? Because if you told me Michael Wilson was 15+% at lock, I wouldn't bat an eye. He has been an easy click. He's still going to have a massive role regardless of Stingley or whatever else is going on the Houston side. What's your game plan for him specifically? Because I'm freaked the fuck out with this dude.
So I did prioritize. I boosted Brissett stacks, so I'm above on
Awesome.
Michael Wilson. I mean, the field's at 10%. I'm assuming that projection's right, though. I do think it's not crazy what you're saying that he might be a little bit higher because the field does love Michael Wilson and thinks that he'll hit in every spot. I want more in the field. If it's going to be 10, I would want less if the field's going to be at 15. So 13% felt about right to me. I'm getting him stacked up naturally here, or with Brissett. That looks good. I can play some of the chalkier Texas pieces alongside that stack. That looks good. Got a little more than the field of McBride, but not a crazy amount either. Cool with that. I just think at this point, Brissett we know is going to drop back a ton. Do I think it's going to run badly because of how good Houston is? I do. But the fact that it's going to drop back 50 times, like, you just want to play the volatility that the field's not going to own, and they're not going to own Brissett. And today it seems like they're not going to own Michael Wilson, though I think you might not be wrong that if he were a little bit higher owned, it wouldn't shock me.
Wouldn't shock me at all. And that's what I get worried about with these things. I have a pretty good gauge of doing this every single day, and that's how it feels. We got Jameson Williams now up over 10%, but guess what? It's not going to stop me from clicking on him. Ted McMillan's been an absolute stud, but the 3% du jour here, Stephon Diggs against his Buffalo Bills. We saw the nuclear primetime game. He's got contract incentives to the moon. I'm not sure if you've seen any of those, Spags, but Stephon Diggs, he's looking for that money. Although I guess when you make good choices, I suppose, in life and find the right lady in your life, you don't necessarily have to worry about money. So Stephon Diggs, he's living the good life. Maybe this is a spot we see him emerge at 3%. I wouldn't be completely shocked by it. And then Wan'Dale Robinson, when you talk about Washington and the way that they go about it, allowing a lot of the short underneath stuff, Wan'Dale Robinson just stands out to me like a sore thumb. Devonta Smith. I mean, I love all these 5, 6K wide receivers. I am playing roulette with a ton of them and just kind of letting the ball land where it will.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, look, for Diggs, I think people might chase that last game a little bit more. Like, he got his revenge out. I don't think he's going to necessarily get fed targets as much. And frankly, for him, the snap share has been kind of concerning. Diggs, that is, with Butte, like, taking meaningful work away from him last time out. And it is odd today, too. Like, I think no matter what, stochastic sims, industry-wide stuff, like, really not getting a lot of Drake May or Josh Allen, even though both, are in this game that matters a lot. But as a result, really, I just don't see Diggs coming up a lot for me. And that's not going to change at this point. But I'm with you overall. The 5K range definitely has some appealing guys. Like McLaurin, I think is pretty good, especially if you're going Mariota's way. We have seen that connection pay off a little bit more lately. And frankly, McLaurin can pay off versus Denver. He absolutely can pay off versus the Giants if anything goes remotely his way. Debo, I think, will be underowned relative to that Mariota stack. People afraid of the illness, but no Zach Ertz. Like, targets kind of have to go somewhere. I don't really think another tight end is going to fill in and grab that share right away. So Debo being the most likely culprit there, I think, to get that work. But yeah, I don't know. Like, there's a lot of guys you go to here. Jacoby Myers, I think, fits lineups pretty well as well at 5,600. 10 targets last week, only caught 4, but against the Jets, if he gets 10 targets here, he might catch 10 out of 10 and break the slate. This range is pretty good. So I'm on the same page as you. Wan'Dale also looks good, I think, in dart stuff. A lot of guys, I think, that are worth like 5 to 15% ownership.
Love the McLaurin shout out. Trying to make way for a little bit more Debo. I got 24% in my Sims run, 2% Debo. I want a little bit close. I'm still going to have more of the McLaurin side, but I'm trying to tighten that gap a little bit here because Debo, 5,300, Swiss Army knife against the New York Giants. I don't hate that whatsoever, but as we move down, we now get into the range where it is hard to find cheapies. This is probably the hardest cheapie week I can remember on just about any slate. So I'm going to highlight a few of mine, and then I'll have you highlight a few of yours to round out wide receiver. I think Rashid Shaheed, considering we just saw that role increase against the Falcons, you're looking for salary relief any way you can. And later game as well, Rashid Shaheed, he's had the big playability. And against Indy, you continue to have Sauce Gardner out. There's lots of ways where that can work out in your favor. Jaden Reed got back into the mix, played a little bit more than I kind of expected. He's been somebody who's never been on the field a ton for the Green Bay Packers, but it's a very difficult spot, 4,500. I've toyed with the idea of making him kind of a stand in that afternoon window as well, just purely because he gives me some kind of salary savings. Jaden Higgins, Nico Collins, he's definitely the alpha, no doubt about it. But Jaden Higgins has had a pretty good role, playing more over Xavier Hutchinson, another Iowa State guy, just as crazy as that is. He's somebody that I'm trying to make way for in lineups here at 4,200. And then as we get all the way down here to the cheap end of things, there is the one, there is the only. Iamaner, or however you want to go about saying it here. We've got 3,500 for him. I think DK is just a little bit too expensive for me this week. But Iamaner, this is a Tennessee team that we do expect. I mean, 2.5 rushing prop for Cam Ward this week. That's a low number. They are expecting him to be out there throwing quite a bit in the market this week. I don't hate the idea of him in some of the CMC stuff, Kittle stuff, whatever I'm going to be doing on the San Francisco side. He's my favorite run back. I use that kind of liberally favorite, just meaning that I've got 10% of him as somebody I'm going to be saving some money with. Who are you going to be playing on the cheap end sub 5K, Spags?
Sub 5K is a little bit more spread out. We're getting some Jaden Higgins, looking at the sim and my own exposures to try to get a read at the same time.
Reading's hard.
Yeah, talking with two screens and having different numbers on both is a little bit of a difficult thing. But for me, Mitchell Tinsley is one that does stand out in terms of the data. Really, industry-wide projections a little bit higher. Stochastic, you'll still get sim-wise about 10, 11%. It looks like. I ended up getting 20 because there is a pretty big number market-wise for Tinsley. I'm not sure I'm sold on it, but he is 3,100. We've seen him have big upside. No T. Higgins. I think you make the case that Tinsley, Yoshevich should probably be in the mix equal amounts, but Tinsley is coming up a little bit more for me today. And again, I think as a value play, there aren't a lot like that. Ayumanor, I get what you're saying at 3,500 as well. And I think he's coming up a little bit more for me, 5% because of the Cam Ward stacks I have a little bit of. But I think Tinsley is like he might be a cash game build if you use industry-wide projections, but think he makes lineups work okay, and I'm willing to do that to some amount this week.
Let's go to tight end. As you guys all hit that like button, we only have we've had 3.2K people watching on YouTube, over 1,500 over on the Twitters, the entire show, and we only have 584 likes. That seems a little disproportional. If you guys enjoy the programming that we're putting out on a daily basis here on the Stochastic YouTube channel, in addition to the Sunday Live Before Lock, giving up a little bit of our own EV, that is Chris Spags and myself, in order to be able to talk you through this slate, give you the best information we can. And obviously today, there was a lot more late news than what I was expecting to be kind of throwing in. Trey Harris, one other guy that I'm playing on the cheap end there for the Chargers, wanted to let that be known. Had over a 6 projection. He was kind of the one guy I was waiting to see what we did with. He's sitting at a spot where kind of similar to the Tinsley number. I'm okay trying to make it a thing. Trey Harris has been integrated more into that offense, but I get worried because he's kind of cannibalized. His role is more of like a Keenan Allen, and Keenan Allen just does it better. He is their third down go-to guy. But Trey Harris, second round pick, some equity there, and obviously he had a lock for me in the betting streets. That made me happy. Oh, Jay Glazier with 8 minutes left. Christian McCaffrey expected to be a full go week 15. Well, shit. Cool.
Good thing you planned. I mean, you know what? Better safe than sorry. That's what we always say here on the show.
I'd rather just be sorry. I think I'm sorry all the time. It's the South Dakota boy in me. I'm sorry.
And you're having a child, so we know you're not safe.
Hell yeah, brother. Tight end, Trey McBride, Brock Bowers, George Kittle. George Kittle pulling the ownership here. Does that trim down now that we know McCaffrey is a full go? Probably not. Probably just makes you feel comfortable in everything that is San Francisco related. But Spags, we have Trey McBride at sub 4%. I talked about it before. I find him to be a very, very, very tough click this week. Those are usually the clicks you want to make in large field tournaments, but I just find the cheap end of tight end to just make way, way, way more sense on this slate.
Yeah, Gesicki coming up a good amount for me. Parkinson coming up a good amount. Likely coming up a good amount. Theo Johnson coming up a good amount. I'm with you on the cheap guys. Even Andrews under 4K. Fannin at 4K flat. He looks great. Has been a popular target anyway. Now you get no Njoku in. That's certainly going to help him out a little bit. Chicago's defense also not something to worry about too much. But Kittle, mega chalk. I'm with it. I think if you were to just play 2 tight ends, I would play Kittle and Fannin and call it a day. But the cheap range, just rolling the dice there, being kind of flat and agnostic to your Gesicki, Parkinson, likely even Barner tier, I think is probably the move.
Yep. I find it very unappealing up here. So let's move ourselves down the board. Do have a little bit more of the Gadsden side of things. Ended up betting him before coming on this show. Just made sense to make that click at 33.5 receiving yards. It has since been boosted on up. So feel good that we got early to the party on that one. Felt like the other wide receiver plays got pulled off the board. Gadsden remained. It just made sense to click on that one pretty easily. But Mark Andrews, we've seen Cincinnati give up tight end production ad nauseum. I don't know what to say that hasn't already been said. They suck at defending that position. But are you chasing the Harold Fannin Jr. piece coming off of last week's evisceration of the slate?
Yeah, I think he's still a good play here. I mean, certainly he's a guy where I don't think you need him to go crazy in any real way to have the kind of production that he had last week. And it's not even like you need Shador, I think, to be that good for Harold Fannin to be good, because he's a guy that can get low ADOT targets, make something happen after the catch. I think Fannin's a strong play here. I do worry about him being mega chalk because I think he's one of those guys people have been dying to see hit, but he was just a monster at Bowling Green. I thought it'd be an issue for him stepping up in competition and also having to fight off Njoku, who's got a good contract and a role. But now Njoku's out, and he's clearly been a top target, has Fannin for Shador, and even for the other QBs before him. So yeah, I think for Fannin, wouldn't like lock him or anything, but I think he's probably a good play to have if you're not just going to roll the dice on all the cheap options.
Where's that jerk that said Eric makes bad calls? Yeah, go beat him up, Smoothie One. Go beat him up. No, I was just screwing around. He's fine, but we love you more, Smoothie One. That's for sure. Thank you. Nick Jared, 3004. I don't take things as seriously as you think I do. Darnold Shaheed or Sanders Judy?
Oof.
No
Darnold
contact.
Shaheed.
I mean, got to be Darnold Shaheed for me by leaps and bounds, even though I do not think the Bears D is all that good. DVOA, ridiculous, like 23rd, despite the fact that they are a 9-3 football team. I'm playing the Harold Fannin piece. I think that's kind of my primary access to that football team. I'm with you. I think that he is actual good chalk there in that range. But Theo Johnson, I do not feel like he is particularly good chalk. Oh, Roma Dunze now ruled out of week 15 aggravating foot injury pregame.
Oh, okay. I don't think I was getting any of them, so that helps.
I have 3 lineups with them in my 150, so I'm just gonna have to swap this out here as we're talking through it. 4 pieces here. Somebody is gonna get completely fucked in their fantasy playoffs from that, and I already feel bad for them. But Luther Burden is a much better play at 4,800 today now. I doubt I get to any Zacchaeus. But in the last couple of minutes, I'm going to find myself onto some Luther Burden III.
Yeah, it's still not a great matchup, but DJ Moore too, I think a little bit of a squeaky wheel situation for him where he was entirely uninvolved the last time Odunze was out. Maybe they get him try to get him going a little bit more. But the matchup being tough, it's not really a spot that I'm going to do much for.
Oh man, this is annoying. This is actually really annoying quick. Because Luther Burden's going to be just unknown. Think about how chalky he was last week, Spags. He was in such a better spot, and obviously he was way cheaper, but he's only 4,800, and he's got big playability. I'm going to, if you're listening to this right now, I'm just trying to find myself onto a little bit. I'm just closing out my FanDuel lineups because I can't even look at these anymore. And Luther Burden, that's where I really want to play him, I think. That's annoying. Great. 3 minutes left, and I've got this. Anything else at tight end? I talked about the Los Angeles Rams pieces. AJ Barner is just fine in those Darnold doubles that I'm looking for. Dawson Knox, not going to be a thing for me whatsoever with Kincaid back. Anything else at tight end for you?
No. I mean, I think really just the main guys, the cheap part of things, Theo, Likely, Gesicki, Parkinson, they all seem like they are worth sim-wise 10 to 20% exposure. In Gesicki's case, 25-30. And that's also industry-wide. Gesicki coming up a lot too. So yeah, cheap. A lot of people playing down a tight end. So McBride going for 40 this week would really put you on a unique plane of existence.
All right, I got to get this put in here as fast as I possibly can as well. But let's go to the defense where ownership, just kind of grouping it there. The Seahawks are playing a geriatric patient. Bears, Texans, Eagles, Saints. Lots of ways that we can go, but 3, 4 expensive defenses. I mean, this just feels like a spot where something is going to break for one of these guys. I think the Seahawks, Texans, Eagles all make a ton of sense, Spags. I don't have a stand on who it could be, but I'm playing the Seahawks because they're late. So I've got 22% of them. They finish out this. I've got 10% Eagles. I've got 20% Texans. So I'm basically holding hands amongst the top of the board there. Who are your favorite defenses to round out our program?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you could afford it, it'd be great to go Seahawks. I mean, Texans certainly have upside too when you're not playing into the passing game, getting there a little bit more for the Cardinals. But in terms of the ownership overall for like where the sim is pushing, Saints D seems to be coming up a good amount. Giants D coming up a little bit as well, or definitely above the field, about 13% in the top 150 here. Bears D as well coming up. So it doesn't seem like a case where you're necessarily paying up for the top tier options, but it's defense, so I don't really care that much. But yeah, if you can afford it, I'd rather get one of the guys than going against a team with an ungodly low total, which there are many of this week.
All right. Well, I am playing Luther Burden in my single entry lineup now, which is not something I was expecting to say at this point in our program. But you know what? It is what it is. We're about to hit lock, and I am about to not have an aneurysm. There we go. Got it all updated. I ended up getting to 6% Luther Burden when it was all said and done. But anywho, Spags, this was an entertaining one. Hopefully it was informative to the people as well. Hopefully it's not just me quoting Happy Gilmore when you don't know it, which is still going to annoy me to no end. But, you know, it is what it is. Go follow my friend Chris Spags over on X. And obviously, Spags, tell them what you're up to on a week in, week out basis because they need to be following you.
Yeah, check out my @Splash Play Pod channel if you want to see my NFL content, Monday and Thursday showdown slates, Friday main slates. I also do cover NBA if you want to check out the playlist on there as well, Monday to Friday at 2 p.m. Working hard as I can. And on Stochastic, I'll be back tomorrow for the Live Before Lock for the showdown. So good stuff coming up, and a pleasure as always, Eric. And I just want to say before you call it the stream, I'm getting people tweeting about how much they loved me calling you an idiot. You're not an idiot, Eric. You're a special guy. I want you to know that.
Download the Tails app. Download the Tails app. App Store, Google Play. Download the Tails app. It's the only thing that can bring me joy at this point, but also that brought me joy. Thank you. Now I'm getting emotional. It's fine. Guys, we have NFL Live Before Lock for the showdown streets coming up with EMAC and Greg Ehrenberg this evening. So do not miss out on that. That is going to be must-watch stuff because it's my Minnesota Vikings and probably the last chance I get to watch them play in a game that matters whatsoever, purely because it's on prime time. Jordan Mason season. Just going to throw that out there for the people as well. But Chris Spags, thank you so very much for your beautifulness and your attentiveness. Let's go watch some foosball, wretched game. More Adam Sandler quotes. Anyway, he's Chris Spags at Chris Spags over on X. I'm Eric Lindquist at Eric Lindquist over on X. We'll see you guys same time, same place next week. Bye.